This is a regular city council meeting of the City of Ocean Shores. It is July 8th, 2025, and the time is 6 p.m. The meeting is being held at the Ocean Shores Convention Center. The meetings are simulcast and archived on KOSW Radio. The meetings are live streamed with closed captioning and may be accessed on the city website under council recordings. The meeting will be viewed on cable channel 68 Thursdays at 12 p.m. and Sundays at 10 a.m. Roll call.
Councilmember Sires.
Here.
Councilmember Klein.
Here.
Councilmember Scott.
Here.
Councilmember Wills.
Here.
Councilmember Hartman.
Here.
I would like to make a motion to excuse council members Griebel and Taylor from tonight's meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thanks. Richard, can you do a pledge of allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can we have a approval of the meeting agenda?
I would like to make a motion to amend the agenda to remove item 14 regarding the sign code, that the ordinance, it needs further review and will be brought back at the next meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to approve tonight's meeting agenda as amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thanks. We have no ceremonies or proclamations. Announcements, board and committee vacancies. There's 2 vacancies on the radio board, 1 vacancy on the parks board, 1 vacancy on the library board of trustees, 1 vacancy on the lodging tax advisory committee, and 1 vacancy on the airport advisory committee. We have no appointments. Under reports, we have a National Fish and Wildlife Foundation capacity building grant, and that's presented by Grays Harbor grant consultant Scott Betcher and Grays Harbor County Commissioner Rick Hole and lead city planner Marshall Reed.
Good evening, council members and members of the community. It is my pleasure to introduce Scott Betcher tonight. Commissioner Hole and Commissioner Raines, who originally planned to attend this report, were not able to make it tonight. I think they have an agenda that was packed like ours, so they're tied up. Anyway, this is going to be turned over to Scott, and he's going to go through a PowerPoint presentation to give you guys an idea what the coalition of community members around Grays Harbor County are working on as far as grant applications and stuff. So here we are.
Thank you, Marshall. Maybe we can get the presentation. So my name is Scott Betcher. I am a consultant working for Grays Harbor County, and I've spent a lot of years working in the Chehalis Basin on the flooding issues, and so some of what I've learned in that process we're going to hopefully apply here. Let's see if there's a, there we go. So today what I wanted to do is give you a briefing on the county's effort to put forth a coastal erosion and resilience investment strategy. So we're going to be sort of quick. This is a presentation we gave to the Planning Commission earlier today and had some healthy discussion with them. And knowing that your council agenda is very full today, we'll do our best. Next. So coastal. Couple photos. This is 1936, looking west, and you can see Ocean Shores is on the city of Ocean Shores is where the right arrow is, and Westport's where the left arrow is. 2 sandy spits. Next. Another wonderful picture. This shows the Ocean Shores, 1966. Shows the channel, the dredge channel, the jetties. Shows Westport, and then further on down to the south is Willapa Bay, and then doesn't show it as well in this image, but you can see where the Columbia River comes out to. This is the context where the coast is. Next slide. This is another picture showing the coast, this time showing the continental shelf and the intersection of the deep ocean plates and the North American plate. And it's at that intersection that brings so much life. And it's the fishing industry and the seabirds and all that that brings people to the coast is a product of this relationship between these two tectonic plates. Next. So we're going to do a little Google Earth here thing for you because the imagery is powerful. So we're highly orchestrated here. So go. Okay. Okay. So what you have here is we're going to show you a time series. You have this presentation. You can look at it in your own. But this is Google Earth from 1984 to 2022. And on your lower left-hand corner where the Copalis River is, you'll see from Ocean City to the Copalis River, Connor Creek migrating north, so watch that. Also, you can watch to your right where Ocean Shores and the jetty meet, far to the right. And then lastly, you can watch how the little islands in the ebb and flow. So why don't you push go and we'll sort of watch it. So Connor Creek on your lower left is migrating north and north. And for those of you who aren't familiar with the area, that migration north has really contributed a lot to the flooding in Ocean City because the drain out for the whole watershed now is 6 miles longer, okay? So it's pretty dramatic. Connor Creek is migrating north, not because Connor Creek is migrating north, rather the beaches are growing, corralling the river and moving it north. Okay, so that is sand that is accreting. It is growing. If you were to look at the middle of the harbor, you can see how those sand islands move and shift. And then I think if he has to pull the screen a little bit up, then we can see, there we go, we can see how the jetty and the intersection, well, you can watch it Oyat Bay, and you've seen footage of that. So if you were to zoom out, press the negative button, this phenomena of sand moving up and down, accreting and eroding is happening all over Westport and south, certainly down into Pacific County, and it's happening north. And so the larger pictures I showed you at the very beginning is the scale of the context with which we're really working. We're not working for coastal erosion in the context of just Westport or just Ocean Shores. Really, you are in a bigger system. And so for me, coming sort of new to your issues directly, this has been very informative for me to understand the context that you operate within. Okay? So if you need something to do some evening, you can just stare at this and loop it many, many times, and it is very fascinating. So let's go back to the PowerPoint. That was pretty orchestrated. We did it. Okay. Okay, so this screen, we're in the PowerPoint, I guess. This screen is showing, to the left is Westport, to the right is Ocean Shores. The red is high hazard erosion areas. And both Westport and Ocean Shores, the takeaway, are experiencing significant erosion. And you know this. And so next slide. So the county, Grace Harbor County, asked me to get involved in February, feeling that the county wanted to have a greater contributory role in helping the coast address these erosion issues and address really more importantly, resiliency. And what will our communities do, especially in the face of today's world where we have less and less federal funding apparently coming down the pike. So the first things we did is we applied for a FEMA grant in February. It was a CTP grant. You've gotten those, Cooperating Technical Partners. We received word the other day, informally from FEMA, that we should start getting ready because we will probably get a request to submit the final full proposal, which was very good. And so Rin Lam was twice called the county administrator to say, things are looking positive. Just get ready. So that's good. The other grant that we're applied for that we're going to talk about now is the National Fish and Wildlife Federation. And that's a similar kind of grant that in terms of funding, $300,000. And it's to, we submitted the pre-proposal. We got the request to submit a full proposal. It's due on the 17th, and then that's going to the next screen, and we'll talk about that. So the National Fish and Wildlife Federation has a coastal resiliency grant program, and there's a graphic on the bottom talking about the kind of the 4 stages of funding. It's a pipeline, they call it. We applied for step 1. If you do step 1, then you get into the pipeline for step 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so step 1 is all about building a community strategic plan and an investment plan. And so we've received the invitation to submit a full proposal to get the $300,000 so that we can start a robust public engagement process, develop a investment plan that would lay out the kinds of investments that are going to work in this larger context. And so that funders can know that we really have a larger system plan in place that is bought off by Ocean Shores, Westport, the county, the port, the cities of Aberdeen and Hoquiam, and everybody who's helping us work together. So the focus on that, because it's National Fish and Wildlife Federation, is what they call nature-based solutions, okay? And so the cobble berm, the cobble work that that Marshall did last year is a nature-based solution. Some of the, I have a photo, next one actually. Let's go to the next slide. On the lower right hand, that's, I can't remember exactly where that was in Ocean Shores. Marino Court. Those logs were placed in the eroding area. That's a nature-based solution. The regulatory agencies and the funders are gravitating towards these kinds of solutions. And so any strategic plan that we put forth will, certainly with this funding source, demand that we find ways to use those kinds of solutions. The plan isn't about just projects. It's also about doing things like they do up in Everett. And that photograph on the right-hand side is Jetty Island. And they have been putting dredge soils there since the 30s. Now that island is a terrific place of habitat and recreation. And it's a natural asset for the community up there, plus a place for the dredge soils and protection. So the Corps, as perhaps you all know, has authority to do some of this beneficial use, and so we want to work with them to find a way that we can try to do that. So the idea of the plan is managing sand through projects. It's understanding your context, managing sand through beneficial use, and things of that sort. So next. So this will be, if we get the funding, you will hopefully see a lot of me, or Marshall will. We really need a healthy discussion around what is resiliency. What is resiliency for Ocean Shores, for Westport, for an unincorporated county on the coastline? And so these kinds of discussion questions I'm posing today aren't for discussion really today, but rather to just key up that we can anticipate through making a strategy like this, if we want it to be collaborative and successful, there's going to be a lot of healthy discussion. Okay. Next. So are there analogs? Yes. The picture on the left is down in the Columbia River estuary. It was called Bay to Bay. It was funded through one of these kinds of National Fish and Wildlife Federation programs. And they have launched project after project after project in the pipeline after having done the planning. The 3 investment plans in the upper right are coming out of the Chehalis Basin process that I'm part of. And I've been directly involved in those. And those plans have transcended multiple funding cycles and have generated the basis for funding good projects. And so a healthy plan can transcend changes in councils. It can transcend changes in commissioners because we need multiple rounds of funding. We really do. And the plan will also help us think about, are there public-private partnerships? Are there other kinds of funding that we can bring to the table? I mean, we have been in a traditional let's apply for a grant to get some planning so we can then get some federal funding. And that world is changing. And so the commissioners are very interested in hearing from the communities about what kinds of funding can we pursue and how can we go about doing that to get the kinds of solutions that are going to make us the resilient communities that we need to be. Okay? So we're, as we use today an analogy, and then we can go on to the next slide, which is, I think, the thank you. Yeah. We're a bit like a heron taking off. We're kind of lumbering right now, but we will fly, and especially if we get this funding. And so I appreciate your time. Oh, and I should say that you do have a letter that we have provided. Hopefully, it's a letter of support that you can sign, or encourage your or enable your mayor to sign, because the more letters of support that go into our submittal package on the 17th, the better. Happy to take any questions. Okay. Good. Great. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, next we have public communication to council. Public communication to council is intended for communication to the city council regarding general council business or policy not in tonight's agenda. Address comments and questions to the city council body, not individuals, members, or city staff. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. We request that comments be nice and respectful. This is not a question and answer time, and the council cannot engage in conversation with the public. No person may use the public comment for the purpose of campaign or advertisement. The city council will begin the time once the citizen has started their public comment. At 2 minutes, you will see a green light, followed by a yellow light indicating 30 seconds remain in the public comment period. The red light will notify the reader that public comment time has ended. Public comments, the individual will go in this order, and it's individuals attending in person, individuals attending remotely, and the general public comments, whether in person or remotely, will continue in the usual position on the agenda. Public comments for agenda items will be removed, can be discussed following the conclusion of general public comments. And we have item 14 on the sign code was removed, so if somebody has a comment they'd like to make on that, you can raise your hand and come up after regular public comments over.
All right, good evening, council. Mayor, we have quite a number of comments tonight. We have 14. So let's get going because we have a long agenda. Ocean Shores Friends, open house for Ocean Shores Friends, July 31st, 2025.
Thank you very much, council, citizens. My name is Mike Harris. I'm a resident of Ocean Shores. I've lived here for 23 years. About a couple of months ago, we came and talked about we were going to start up a caregivers support group for Alzheimer's and for cognizant issues. No such group has been formed in Ocean Shores. There are groups in Hoquiam and Aberdeen, but nothing in Ocean Shores. And there was a great need for that we saw. I'm happy to report that that plan is on track. And the purpose of our coming here today is to let you know that the project is in full swing. The support group now has a total of 8 participants, and it's facilitated by Carolyn Harris, also a resident of Ocean Shores. With that, I will turn it over to Tim Johnson, who will talk about the Respite Care Center, which was also part of our presentation a few months ago. Tim?
Thank you, Mayor and City Council, citizens of Ocean Shores. As you recall, back in April, we did a presentation on the respite facility that we're putting in at the Ocean Shores United Methodist Church. Well, it's finally starting to come to fruition, which we are very happy about. We have our grand opening date of August 12th, which is going to be our first date for respite. But we also, on July 31st, we are having an open house at the United Methodist Church from 11 to 2, and we cordially invite all the city council and the mayor and any other citizens of Ocean Shores who'd like to stop in and see what we're doing. And that's what we're here for. So thank you very much.
All right, next comment, and I hope I pronounce your last name correctly. Beth Olsak, board member of the CIC, on a June update of CIC events.
Hello, I just wanted to give you some highlights of what's been going on at the center, the Coastal Interpretive Center in June. The first thing I'd like to say is we again participated in the Flag Day Parade. We've been absent for a couple of years, but we came back this year, had a wonderful time. We'll continue to do the Flag Day Parade. And I personally had a really good experience because I got to mark being in a parade off my bucket list. So that I'm grateful for that opportunity. We also this year participated in the Sand and Sandust Festival. It's the first time we've done that. We were there all 3 days. We had several hundred people that we talked to. So that was really, really special, and we will continue to do that. We have a summer series of guided naturalistic tours across Grace Harbor and Ocean Shores. We're providing tours of Oyhut Wildlife Area, Weatherwax Trail. You can register through our website. We're finding that it's really important to have alternative places to tell people to go because we're getting a lot of traffic about the closure of Damon Point. So we've also come up with like a tourist book that our docents can give people guidance about where else they might want to go since Damon Point's closed. We recently held our first ever teacher workshop, Coastal Community Connections, which included an educator from the North Beach School District. This is the first of what we hope to be many ones to allow additional resources to local teacher. This year, we also have our first ever paid summer intern who will be monitoring water quality and habitat at 12 sites across Grace Harbor Estuary, and will be creating a temporary exhibition at the CIC Museum upon completion of the internship. Thank you for your time.
Andrew Makar, the dispute on free speech that appears to being a continued sore point.
Thank you. I understand that there's a local group calling itself Indivisible Ocean Shores, and in the past it was invited to operate a booth for purpose of conducting voter registration drive at the Sand and Sawdust Festival. They were not invited this year. My understanding is that the dispute stems from a sign that states registered to vote, democracy depends on it. The action appears to be taken under the color of city authority. Now, I've tried to understand what this debate is about, but it apparently seems to be an ongoing thing. Now, first thing I'm going to preface is that it is abundantly clear that a voter registration drive can be partisan. In fact, it can be nakedly partisan. This position was put forth by a conservative political group called Americans for Prosperity just last year in their pleadings in a case before the Arizona Federal District Court. I provided actually a citation to this case and other relevant case law in an email several months back to the mayor. The response I got was a pamphlet from the Washington Attorney General's office, which I thank you for. There were two restrictions that seemed to be on point. One is a limitation based on the organization being a 501c3 corporation under the Internal Revenue Code. The other is that it can't receive government funds. Now, to the best of my knowledge, the group in question is not a 501c3 organization. I'm not sure if it's even incorporated as a legal entity with the Secretary of State. As such, it's simply an association of private citizens, so this prong of the test fails. I'm puzzled by the assertion that it somehow received government funds, and the only thing that I can come up with is that historically they weren't paying for a booth at the fair. But that seems to be a pretty thin peg to hang one's hat on. Now, there's no question that the actions and the position of the city, as stated, even from what I've understood the mayor has stated, is a restriction on free speech based on a political viewpoint. Prior statements make it clear that the consideration was that the voting and democracy statement was a partisan talking point. Actually, I would have thought that the statement is a truism. But apparently we can't all agree on the fact that democracy and voting go together. The decision not to continue the annual drive
That's
invites
time.
the claim that the decision was...
That's time.
Okay. Okay.
Gina Rawlings, 4th.
Good evening, Mayor and Council, and I want to say that for years the 4th of July has been an issue. And there was a time when a council member who was running for office said that they would work to cancel 4th of July on the beach because of all of the garbage that is left here. It has been this way for years. When that person was elected into office, there was never a word mentioned after the fact. We have complaints about people not having bathrooms available to them on the beach. We have had people bring actual old furniture, couches, recliners, dinette sets, set them up for the 4th, and then left their garbage there. We have had people come and work very hard passing out bags, and I was one of them. And I would work for the next 2 days cleaning up garbage, and it's getting old. I had a dog that was a bird dog. Didn't faze her a bit to be around gunshots. Half lab, half golden. Wonderful dog. She and I were walking on the beach, and somebody went off with a mortar rocket, and it exploded right next to us. And my dog actually had a nervous breakdown every time that she heard a gunshot or anything that sounded like it. I've had friends that have had their dogs drugged for since Thursday, and I've been serenaded with fireworks even at 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning, even yesterday. So I'm asking that if I'm paying extra 49 cents per gallon on my gas because of carbon tax, our garbage that we have on the beach is not getting cleaned up. When the tide comes in, it takes it out and it brings part of it back in for days. And I just think that we need to come up with a better way. We could have a 4th where there is not all the garbage there, and there's like a child now in Harborview that has had their face, had a firework explode in their face, and another person who had their hand amputated after the 4th this week. So I'd like for you to consider ways that we can change the 4th to be more inclusive and not the garbage. Thanks.
Bruce Rittenhouse, July 4th recap, Blue Bag Brigade cleanup.
Well, good evening, Mayor, City Council, and Ocean Shores residents. Just from hearing the previous comments, it appears that we have survived the 4th of July again, barely. But I'm Bruce Rittenhouse, the chairperson of the Grace Harbor Surfrider chapter, and I just came to speak tonight to show our appreciation to the volunteers who helped hand out bags on the 4th and came over for the cleanup on the 5th. So on the 4th of July, Grace Harbor Surfrider volunteers handed out over 6,000 blue bags for over 8 hours at Chance Oliver and Damon Access Roads. Those volunteers could have been home or left town, but instead they cared enough about their community to come and help keep our beaches clean. You guys know who you are, and your efforts are much appreciated. I also want to give a shout out to Gina McCauley for coordinating and recruiting volunteers to hand out bags at the Taurus Approach. She handed out over 1,000. And Tamara Fairley from the Grace Harbor Avert, who were out there on ground zero handing out bags and providing the first aid to those in need. We know that by handing out these bags, it does make the July 5th cleanup much easier. Surfrider refers to July 5th as the dirtiest beach day of the year, and it definitely is. Surfrider volunteers and community members were out on the beach early on the 5th, where almost over 200 people came over and helped pick up bags to help clean up and pick up all the garbage. Not all of it, but there were many more people helping out as well, all because they care about our beaches. Again, you know who you are, and we all appreciate your community service. We had people come as far away as Seattle just to come clean garbage up, and they're appreciated. We had families, we had our local Girl Scout troop out there, and a wide diversity of people that came out to help join us, all for the care of our beaches. Some stayed for over 3 hours, others volunteered for 20 minutes, and it was all appreciated. Several Ocean Shores residents hauled numerous loads of trash to the dumpsters and with their trucks and trailers. And I want to give a special thanks to our City of Ocean Shores Public Works employees who were out there on the beach working hard to put those bags in the dumpsters. And they are a great group to work with. But I do want to emphasize that our beaches are not clean yet. They might look like it when you drive out there, but if you look closely, there is still a lot of garbage out there. So, and we know that more plastic is coming in on the shores daily. We encourage everyone who goes on their beach walks to carry a bag or bucket and have a picker with them to pick up small debris. And I hope that our residents will consider volunteering next year because whether you hand out bags or do the cleanup, because next year the 4th falls on a Saturday and it's celebrating our 250th anniversary. And handing out bags is fun, the cleanup not. So we appreciate it, and I'm just here to say that we appreciate everybody's help who came out on the 4th and the 5th. Thank you.
Matt Buchanan, 4th of July success. I still have all my fingers.
All right. Everything's still there. 4th of July was very successful from an on-the-beach attendee perspective. The traffic alteration, I think, was the highlight. It seems to have worked to keep things moving along Chance fairly well. The barriers on the approaches gave a safe spot for pedestrians to walk when they used it. The dumpsters were well used, although I would personally want to see them there on the 2nd as well, at least one on the Chance approach. One thing to improve on. Traffic was stopping in every approach due to soft sand spots that developed at the end of the gravel beach approach. Numerous times traffic was reduced to one lane because someone got stuck right there. I know you guys have no control over that, but perhaps more signs alerting people to stay on the hard pack or off the beach entirely if they don't have four-wheel drive. And now my favorite thing, data. Fireworks my group lit off over the 3 days combined. 102 fountains. We gave out gigantic sparklers to kids and parents, over 500 of those. We shot up over 30,000 aerial shots. No major injuries, a couple bruises, and I got a splinter. Personal cost to me to do fireworks for people who enjoy them, $18,000. And most importantly, no trash left behind from our group. We even raked the sand in our area around us to ensure it's cleaner than what we found it. Saying this because of all the doom and gloom about fireworks that goes on every year. We are likely the largest show out there, and we lead by example. People that were set up around us saw us raking the sand after every day and asked to borrow our tools so they could do the same. Not everyone destroys the beach. Hopefully something can be done to get that message out to people. Thank you.
Tom, and I'm not sure if it's Heinlein, speed bumps.
Tom Hamilton, Ocean Shores, Mayor Eldwin, council members, city staff, my fellow citizens. Recently, the city has installed speed bumps on several streets. This in addition to three-way stops installed last year. What justification was used for this? Was there a traffic study done? Was public outreach to members of the community impacted by these traffic revisions? Good governance implies that these steps are taken and public input invited and considered. None of this was done. I know because I lived on Canal Drive Northeast when the stop signs were replaced. I never heard from the city. How were these traffic revisions paid for? From the general fund or from the Transportation Benefit District funds? The city's most important and largest asset is its streets. Chancellor Lemire between Albatross and Dolphin is failing. There is a traffic hazard / pothole on Point Brown southbound just before the traffic circle. What is being done to address these issues? Is there really a speeding problem where the traffic revisions have been executed? The traffic study would confirm this. There are signs posted, speed check by radar. When? Has that been done at these locations? Warning signs for speed bumps are small and placed high. Graffiti painted bump signs on the road do not meet the national standards. Heck, the golf course has better signage. The bumps are so ineffective that people don't have to slow down. In fact, so little traffic. There are many driving in the middle of the road to avoid them. This is not good governance. It is a waste of resources and not proper stewardship of the city. I speak from 13 years of government experience as a chairman of the Planning Commission, city council member, mayor, chairman of Transportation Benefit District, and board member of Community Transit. I suggest it is time to bring your head up into the sunlight and begin to act as a professional, conducting proper studies, seeking community input. While we have your head up in the sun, democracy is not a partisan word. Democracy is the right and the privilege of citizens to exercise their right to vote. You may not have a constitutional republic without democracy. Democracy was so important to the founding fathers that they embedded it in the first three words of the Constitution, we the people. I thank you for your time and your consideration.
Can't quite read this. It's David Doan, and it's either from Constantine to Justinian, and I doubt it's about the Byzantine Empire or maybe Constitution and Justice, but I can't tell. Okay.
Hi, I'm David Doan. I'm a resident here for 11 years now. We have a situation which we've been trying to do something about in our city. We try to bring some education to our city and to make it clear to people what's going on. Our Constitution is definitely in jeopardy, and our legal system is definitely in jeopardy, without any doubt. We just had an event which we had 859 people show up. They didn't show up here for nothing. They showed up here because of what I just said. So I'm going to tell you a little history about it, quickly as I can. Frederick Trump, Trump's father, was known as the Henry Ford of the real estate business. He also was caught in KK rallies in the 1920s, and he was known for cutting corners and loopholes in the law. He made a financial success making small buildings around Queens and the East Coast, and he made more than 20,000 of them in New York alone. He was investigated and for profiteering in the United States in 1954. Nothing happened. Minority applicants were always turned away from Trump properties. Black people were never applied to a rental, and they were given a code by the Trumps, Donald himself, as C, meaning that they were colored people. Eventually, a white wife put an application, and her husband was not there. And he was found out. The Trumps were found out. This lawsuit led into a lawsuit where both of the Trumps were defended by an attorney called Roy Cohn. It was a lawsuit about fair real estate products. A bit of background about Roy Cohn. Roy Cohn is the only lawyer in the United States who was mafia-oriented. He was a mafia lawyer for 5 families in New York. As a result of that, Donald Trump and Roy Cohn became lifelong friends. This was a transactional friendship, and it was maintained until Cohn died of AIDS. In 1973, the Civil Rights Division of the United States Department sued Fred and Donald for the Fair Housing Act, and the response was Cohn put in a lawsuit against the Justice Department for $100 million, and he named the actual people in the Justice Department as co-defendants to the Justice Department. So it was a normal thing for Cohn to name personal people into lawsuits, and he did it all the time, and he told Trump to do that. So the Trumps got away with a very small fine, and we're not given anything other than about a year's worth of probation for that. Roy Cohn also represented the interests of many crime families in New York, including Tony Solano, Carmen DeGalante, and John Gotti.
That's time.
Maria Van Horn, Tale of Two Cities.
Maria Van Horn, citizen of Ocean Shores, member of Indivisible Ocean Shores. Tonight I want to present a tale of two cities that represent the best and the worst of Ocean Shores. On July 5th, after a night of fireworks mayhem, 200 plus volunteers hosted by Surfriders Foundation of Grays Harbor gathered on the beach to collect tons of trash. The volunteers ranged in age from 8 months to 80 plus, and even some from Kentucky, which I don't think Bruce knew, and others right here from Ocean Shores, including several from Indivisible Ocean Shores. Most of them hadn't created the mess, but came because they love the beach and want to protect it. Bruce and Gina provided more details in their presentations. The success of the cleanup was dependent on the stellar work provided by the City of Ocean Shores Public Works crew. They were incredible all day, working nonstop, helping volunteers all along the beach and working hand in hand with the Surfrider staff. Despite the nitty-gritty work, they were positive and professional, representing the city in the best way possible. The other tale makes me sad to have to bring it up again. It's been over a year since the mayor blocked our First Amendment right to free speech when he declared the word democracy too political to be seen and required Indivisible Ocean Shores to hide the word on our voter registration banner that we have been using for 8 years. The mayor remains silent, not responding to our many pleas to correct his glaring mistake. As I walked through Sand and Sawdust this year, it broke my heart and made me thoroughly disgusted that after many years of providing a free space for a voter registration, a place for all citizens to receive information regarding their voting rights, there was no one present. The mayor's eager volunteers from last year that requested democracy be hidden were nowhere to be seen. Believe me, there was plenty of room for a small table and 2 volunteers. Free speech is the #1 right that we must fight for. Citizens speaking out protect our democratic republic from tyranny. It is not patriotic to try to end democracy. It can happen here is the first step. It can't happen here is the first step towards disaster. To abandon the facts that our free speech rights were violated is to abandon freedom. Indivisible Ocean Shores has no intent to ignore the facts. We are not going away. We will not take the easy way out. Someone needs to protect our free speech, and our 397 members are up to the task. As a citizen of Ocean Shores for 10 years, I'm thankful that the Public Works crew is not influenced by the mayor and his cronies, as they continue to serve all of us fairly and professionally. They are the best of Ocean Shores. Thank you.
Lillian Broadbent, Transportation Improvement District.
Mayor, City Council, I came tonight to address some concerns I have over the Transportation Improvement District use of funds. But on my way here, I saw a group of people protesting, and I joined them. I am not a member of Indivisible. I was married to a Republican for 53 years, and I generally leaned Democrat, but I wouldn't call myself a Democrat. But I think the important thing here is I'd like to see partisan politics removed from our city and from the council to basically our governing bodies. The incident that occurred, I saw it there. I didn't see anything except the banning of the word democracy. Democracy is not a dirty word. Neither is Democrat, neither is Republican. But you know what? Democrat and Republican doesn't belong in city management. We should be able to operate our city separate from what's going on in national politics and even local politics. It doesn't belong here. It doesn't belong at the city level, and it doesn't belong at the county level. And until very recently, that is a tenet that was very carefully guarded. And when I get back to a little bit of history, I want to talk about the Transportation Improvement Board and how it was formed and what the intent was. Just before we changed the form of government to have an elected mayor, the transportation system here was almost non-existent. There was no money for anything. So what occurred was that some well-meaning people leapt in and created this giant project that resulted in all sorts of costs to the individuals. And then, of course, they were not in office anymore. And the new crew coming in had no way to finance. We had $200,000 in our general fund when they took over. So the benefit district was eventually formed for the intent of having substantial amounts to apply to road maintenance. It concerns me that it is now being dipped into for, I'm not sure what all, but I do know that it apparently funded some signs that were in another taxing district. And I still don't understand that. My time's up. Thank you.
Nancy Milliman, FYI and update.
Good evening, everybody. Immediately after the speed bumps were installed on various streets in our city, many individuals expressed outrage and, yes, some jealousy on social media pages. I will assume that these individuals are unaware that attending or listening to various council meetings and town halls are actually very informative as to what may be our citizen concerns. The speed bump installation journey began nearly 4 years ago on September 26, 2021, with a letter to the past mayor and city council members. Next was a public comment at the city council meeting the very next day. 1 year later, a petition from Dolphin residents was presented to the past mayor and council. In January of 2023, the Dolphin residents joined together in a follow-up meeting with the past mayor, the police chief, and some council members. Mayor Elduin hosted a town hall on February 21st, 2024, regarding traffic calming devices, and it was very well attended, educational, and really encouraged public input. So you see, the fruition of speed cushions in Ocean Shores has been a journey of 3 years and 9 months. Thousands of international studies have been performed regarding traffic calming devices. Speed bumps in residential areas offer several advantages, especially when it comes to improving safety and the quality of life. Some key benefits are, number one, it reduces vehicle speeds. Number 2, increases pedestrian safety. And in fact, according to the National Institute of Health, speed bumps and humps have also led to a 53% to 60% reduction in the odds of automobile injury or death among children, because they're usually the ones around the schools at the crosswalks. Number 3, discourages cut-through traffic. Number 4, enhances neighborhood livability. 5, reduces accident frequency and severity. 6, low-cost traffic calming solutions. Thank you.
Kurt Dooley, restaurants.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. The council is currently looking at creating an ordinance to enforce hotel cleanliness rules, which is something I fully support. While you're addressing that, I'd like to recommend that we adopt a similar approach for our restaurants by implementing a visible inspection, grading, and placarding system like the one already in place in Olympia and other cities across the country. In Olympia, restaurants are routinely inspected and assigned a sanitation grade, such as an A or a B, which must be clearly posted at the entrance. These inspections are conducted by the Thurston County Public Health, so the city itself doesn't have to hire staff or fund its own inspection team. Ocean Shores could explore a similar partnership with Grays Harbor County Public Health, meaning we wouldn't need to hire anyone to carry it out. To date, Grays Harbor County Public Health has never partnered with any city in the county to implement a grading and placarding system. Adopting one here would be something new and innovative, showing that Ocean Shores is serious about clean, safe dining and willing to take that extra step for locals and visitors alike, just as we are regarding the hotels. This wouldn't compete with the county's existing food safety program. It would simply enhance it by requiring restaurants to publicly display the results of inspections that already take place. This kind of system would be especially beneficial here in Ocean Shores. We're a destination city with millions of visitors every year, and for many of them, dining out is a key part of the experience. Just like the hotel ordinance aims to boost visitor confidence, a restaurant grading system would send a similar message, that Ocean Shores takes health, safety, and quality seriously. This isn't about punishing small businesses. It's about promoting transparency, earning public trust, and giving well-run restaurants a chance to proudly display their commitment to cleanliness. I encourage the council to begin a dialogue with Grays Harbor County Public Health to explore how we can make this happen. If Olympia can do it, so can we, and I believe we should. Thank you.
Sylvia Fain, protests.
Hello, this is Sylvia Fain, council, mayor, and whatever. Anyway, okay, here we go. Why am I here? I am here because we are continuing protests. I think we all pretty much know why. I want to thank Mayor Eldon, and I want to thank Chief Logan for coming to the last large protest that we had. That really meant a lot to a lot of people. And it shows that as a town, we can maybe, work together a little bit and not be so divided. I keep getting questions like, why are you bothering to have it in Ocean Shores? You're ruining the tourist trade. You're Satan. I've been called Satan quite a few times. Things like that. And it just goes on and on and on. We wanted to be in the parade, and it took an act of God, quite literally, to, get that going. Everyone is like, they're afraid of us. We are Democrats. Our group is Grays Harbor Progressives, Democrats. Any Democrats are welcome. Any Republicans are welcome. We just want this community to be better. And when we see Damon Point washing away because the funding has been stripped, when we see community members not able to afford their medicines, their food, they're terrified. Those are things we all should be concerned about. And I really do appreciate Mayor Eldon and the police chief for coming out and beginning that process of working together, because I think we have to work together. Things are going to get really bad. Not politically so much, but personally for many, many people, the way these cuts are coming. We've got urgent cares that are going to close. The hospitals are saying they may close in the area. And so we all need to work together and support it rather than ignore it. There's a lot of denial and ignoring going on about the impact of what's happening in our community right now. So I just want to thank you guys. Thank you.
And then Taylor Priest, local support in the face of national politics.
Hi, my name is Taylor Priest. I'm an Ocean Shore citizen. And I want to thank the mayor, city council, and citizens for your time and attention. City council meetings aren't generally the place for national politics. I agree with you on that. But city and federal governments are absolutely linked, and we now need local government to join citizens who care about democracy and our Constitution. Our day is coming. The Secretary of Agriculture today delivered a chilling speech. In it, she proudly proclaimed unequivocally that mass deportations will continue, and there will be no amnesty. These are direct quotes. They're available in the speech. You can see it for yourself online. She added, "We'll replace immigrant labor with machines and force the poor on Medicaid to pick up the slack." I don't know how they could make the message any more clear or how anyone could doubt the fact we are under attack from our federal government. Other localities have stood up to ICE and kicked them out. They've trained real law officers to verify legitimacy of outside forces and people showing up claiming to have authority. In Bell, California, firefighters used fire engines to push ICE vehicles back out of their town. They rejected ICE's attempt to terrorize their citizens. The mayor of Los Angeles, Karen Bass, bravely stood up to them this week as well. On Monday, ICE raided a Children's Day camp in Los Angeles, showing up with horses, armored vehicles, carrying rifles, dressed up in tactical gear to threaten children. The list of the vulnerable is growing minute by minute. An evangelical church in Indiana is spreading the word through the sitting POTUS's ear to slaughter people who are LGBTQ. If you think white skin or being a male and calling yourself Christian will protect you, you're sadly mistaken, and others before you learned the lesson. It's all written in history. Read it before it disappears. I can't go through it all here now, but there's a poem I'd like to read. It's by Pastor Martin Niemöller, and I hope it will awaken at least one set of eyes. As I read it, please picture a long line of people all seeming to look very much alike in their demeanor, faces aimed downward, expressions fearful and empty. See yourself at the front of that line because you will be next. First, they came for the communist, and I did not speak out because I was not a communist. Then they came for the socialist, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionist. I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak out for me. If you find any of this humorous, I have to ask myself, what went wrong? Where did you lose your moral compass? Did you ever have one? We all matter. Each way of life has a meaning, a purpose, a contribution. No individual should be dispensable.
That's time.
Just confirming, there is no online general public comment, correct? Okay, well, that concludes public comment for the evening. Thank you.
All right, we will take comments from the crowd on the removed item on the agenda, number 14. If anybody wanted to speak on that, raise your hand. Yes, go ahead.
Jan Hyatt, Ocean Shores, thank you. I couldn't get the document to copy in big enough print, but there's several lines in there that talk about 4x6 signage and 32 square feet and can be placed as considered temporary up to 180 days. Some of it just sounds like it needs to be taken down a little bit in size, especially if it's considered that my neighbor could put up a sign like that, block my view for 180 days. I'm not sure why that would be considered temporary. Also, I didn't see anything political in there like they had it before. So I know it was because you needed, I believe it was 180 days for political signs, and so that was one reason you used it. If you've removed the political signage part of it and are placing it in a different location, a lot of these items that a signage could be down. I just don't know that we need 4x6 sign in somebody's yard advertising their home for sale or whatever it is for 180 days. Being that that's considered a temporary sign, and there's no permit required for signage like that. So I think that's something that might be one to reconsider for several of us homeowners. Thank you.
Right, any others? Yes, go ahead.
I also, actually, when I was looking at that portion of the sign code tonight, I assumed that the 24 square feet was in fact a typo. That's never been allowed here, and I hope it never will be. Our temporary signs, and political signs used to be a separate category, but there was a Supreme Court ruling somewhere in outer Mongolia that objected to the political sign designation. And so I know that we can't have that anymore. But other temporary signs, a temporary sign, 6 months can't be a temporary sign. There used to be a requirement before our state moved the primaries back so far. You could only have them up for the duration, which I think was maybe 90 days. I don't remember precisely, but it wasn't a lot. We have enough signs. And I saw nothing in there. We were prohibited in the business districts in the past from putting signs up. And then then a gentleman who lived here in town decided that nobody could tell him where to put his signs, and he put them at the city gates. And now our city gates look like trash. There are huge signs all over the place. That's not the impression we want to give. I would like to see temporary signs again banned from the gates through at least Chancellor. I know that estate sale people aren't very happy with what they still perceive to be an Ocean Shores regulation on signage in the main area of town. I don't want our downtown area, and we don't have to do that. Other cities have designated areas for signs. Why can't we? And please, no 20 square feet, 4 square feet. We don't need it that bad. We're not a big city. We're a small town, and I'd like to see it stay that way. We don't need signs every 10 feet. Thank you.
Any other comments? Yes, go ahead.
Didn't come prepared to talk about sign codes tonight, but I would want to point out that a 4x4 post on the side of the road that gets hit by a car, that's going to cause some damage. Who's going to accept the liability for signs like that in the right of way? It's just something to think about. I mean, we got speed humps now that aren't marked. You can't see them at night. We got potholes on Point Brown. Who's going to pay for all the damages that are caused for these things? And a 4x4 sign that's 24 square feet can cause a lot of damage and hurt a lot of people. So again, I just think, I hope people will consider that as they move forward. And I know, I know a lot of businesses want to get their word out, but the more signs you put up is not going to make us come to your shop. Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, I don't see any, so that will close our public comments session here in the meeting. Next up, we have our city administrator report with Scott Anderson.
All right. I just wanted to kind of limit the focus tonight because I knew it was going to be a long meeting, but we've had several major events at the city, so I just wanted to give you a recap, and we'll start with sand and sawdust. According to our traffic calculator, we had about 1,000 more cars this year than last, and that is the equivalent of about 2,500 more people than in 2024. At the event, they had 75 vendors, 5 bands, obviously the chainsaw carving auction, and the beach with 12 amateur teams. Sales were down slightly at the auction, but the auction still managed to bring in over $90,000, and it was very, very well attended. The 4th of July weekend, of course, that's something altogether different. We had roughly 31,000 vehicles in our Ocean Shores on the 2nd, 3rd, and the 4th, which translates to approximately 70,000 people who visited our city this weekend. The block party at the Ocean Shores Convention Center had 2 live bands and food trucks and a beer garden and bounce houses. It was the first year for this type of event that was hosted and put on by the city, and the purpose was not only to give the locals and tourists a safe place to enjoy the fireworks, but allowed them to enjoy themselves. And there were probably about 300 people in attendance. On the fire department side, the Ocean Shores Fire Department responded to 35 medical and fire calls over the 4th and the 5th. That included 6 brush fires, 5 dumpster fires, and 3 fireworks injuries. The fire department also had to respond to 83 unattended campfires, which they were left to extinguish. The big event that took place at that time, obviously, was at about 7:08 p.m. on Friday the 4th. The Ocean Shores Fire Department was dispatched to a fire in the dunes between the Marine View Drive Southwest Beach approach and the Butterclam Street Southwest approach. The initial reports included visible smoke and flames, and the witnesses were attempting to extinguish the fire themselves. The fire was essentially estimated to be about the size of a football field, with flames as high as 20 feet. The cause of the fire was indeed fireworks activity. Fireworks were allowed at that beach at that time, but remember, you have to stay at least 100 feet from the dunes. Altogether, the area burned was about 5 acres, but there was no injuries and no damage to either people or property that was reported. Our Ocean Shores Police Department, like our fire department, was equally busy. Between July 4th and 5th, the police department handled 85 calls for service. The number was down from the 82 calls that took place last year. Officers dealt with 3 separate incidents involving 4 firearms. One of those incidents occurred just north of the Damon Approach in the county, which was turned over to Washington State Patrol and State Parks. The other 2 incidents did not result in arrest. Officers did make 2 arrests in this given time frame, however. One involved a residential burglary and an assault on an officer, along with other charges. And the second involved the theft of a moped from a local business. They also turned a DUI over to the state for processing due to the victim vehicle belonging to the city. The police department would like to thank, as will the fire department later in this report, our Public Works Department for making the traffic revision happen. In their opinion, it was extremely successful in mitigating the historical traffic jams that occurred on Ocean Shores Boulevard in the years past. And with a couple of modifications, the traffic revision will be used for years to come. And both our police department and our fire department would like to thank the following groups: the Avert CERT team, the Surfrider Foundation, Ace Hardware for the flags on the High Dune Trail, all the volunteers who went to pick up trash, the Ocean Shores Jeeps for the 5th cleanup, both Sarah and George for organizing the family fun 4th of July event at the convention center, and all of the public works staff that got out and worked so hard to clean up our beaches and make our community beautiful the next day. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Now we got council liaison reports and council committee reports, and we'll start with Rich Hartman.
Thank you, Mayor. There was no Council of Governments meeting last month. I attended the annual Public Facility District meeting, attended agenda review, and attended the Public Works meeting. I've got some notes from the Public Works meeting. We focused on the 24 street management plan that we all had received in the past. It's really nice, a couple inches worth of information. We discussed the way the vendor had evaluated our streets, and we know that their technology doesn't take into account dips and rolls and the like. It focuses on the cracking in the pavement. We are scoring in the 90% range right now, and realize that as trucks start working, bringing in riprap and such for the jetty, it'll have an impact on Ocean Shores Boulevard, East Ocean Shores Boulevard, and Sportsman's Boulevard. Pages 19 to 30 of the report pose 6 different scenarios, from do nothing, which degrades our score from 90 today to that of around 80 in 2029, to spending $3.7 million per year, which keeps us at a score of 90% through 2029. Right now, the streets are funded through the general fund, small portion, a small amount from the gas tax and the transportation benefit district. Right now, the TBD has about $2.3 million in it, and the street reserve around $335,000. So the big decision that needs to be made sooner than later is how to move forward. Unless we just want to have another LID for streets, we need to prioritize the funding source and a target score that we want to achieve for a streets grade. Right now, we raise approximately $600,000 or so a year, maybe a little more. We're looking for upgrades, potentially of up to $3 million more a year to keep them in the same shape as we are today. We're going to need to make a hard decision sometime very soon as to what grade of road that we all can live with and the funding sources to get us there. Sorry for the bad news. Good news now, bad news in the future. We just need a plan. That's my report.
Richard.
I signed warrants last Thursday instead of Friday. Of course, Friday was a holiday. The Fresh Waterways Advisory Board met actually yesterday. They discussed the Herrera management units. Herrera, in one of their initial reports, devised a map that broke all of the waterways and lakes into sections, and the Water Advisory Board members are each taking responsibility for a section to monitor the water quality and look for weeds and keep their eyes out for the noxious, the toxic weeds, the blue algae. So yay for them. They also talked about a stick test, and I never knew about this, but the stick test is take a plain board apparently and dip it down into the water, and if it comes out clean, there's no toxic algae. If it comes out mucky, there's toxic algae. That's something I'd like to learn a little bit more about. They also talked about cleaning the speed limit signs, and I think they're developing a program. So yay for the Freshwater Advisory Board. They are taking an active role in helping to make the waterway system better. The Finance Committee meeting was canceled. There were scheduling issues. I was not present for the radio board meeting. I was actually in Kennewick, Washington, attending a 4-day conference for city legislators. But what they talked about at the radio board meeting, I watched the video. Vertical Bridge is an outfit that runs or owns the IGA tower, which is the tower on the IGA parking lot right behind IGA. And the radio board is looking at trying to lease that tower instead of the existing tower that's way up on the hill north of us. That tower, the IGA tower, would be much, much less expensive. I think that the current tower, we are charged $3,400 a month, and Marty believes that if we do conclude a contract with Vertical Bridge, that would come in at under $1,000 a month. But that's not going to happen anytime soon. We have an existing contract that goes on for another couple of years. So that's my liaison report. Oh, I mentioned I spent 4 days in Kennewick at the All Washington Cities Conference, and I came away inspired. It was very well worth my time. Denise also went, and she may speak also to that. But you, the citizens, paved my way. Thank you. You got your money's worth, I'm sure. Thanks. That's all I got.
All right, Allison.
I signed warrants and I attended the Public Safety Committee meeting where Chief Logan and Chief Ritter went over final plans for the 4th of July.
Lisa.
Met with the golf course, and I think the mayor's got that in his report. Met with public safety, and again, what Allison reiterated, plus we do have an agenda item on tonight's agenda for the Southside Station, and then I also attended agenda setting.
All right, Denise.
As Richard already mentioned, the Finance Committee. Was it? Okay. The Finance Committee was canceled, and I missed the Public Works because I was also on my way to Kennewick. However, I did watch the recordings, and as Rich already talked about, the focus was the Kimley Horn Street Assessment Report. And also, as Rich said, the looking at the finances, the next step of that is really planning and priorities. I attended with Richard the Association of Washington Cities from June 24th to June 27th. I also came away very inspired by actually the caliber of our elected officials. There were different tracks that you could attend. I focused mostly on infrastructure and community. Very interesting to hear so many of the cities having the same kinds of problems that we are, particularly with getting staff and with volunteers. Anyway, very inspiring conference.
All right, thanks. I've got a short mayor's report because we got a lot on our agenda tonight, but the golf course had a record month in June, and of course we had some great weather and still seem to be having some good weather. But they took in $92,599 for the golf business for 1 month, which is really, really good, and it is a record for our golf course. Want to let everybody know the permit department is cashless, so they won't be taking any cash. We've had people come in with pretty large amounts of money to pay for their permits. So it'll be a cashless department from here on out. That started actually towards the end of last week. And I did want to let everybody know that the construction on our medical clinic will start sometime in the week of July 14th. So sometime next week that'll get underway. So, and that's all I have for my report. You want to take a break? Let's get rid of the consent.
I'd like to make a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, let's take a short break.
Well, my idea.
Advertise your idea.
But they don't know that. Yeah. I know, I need to move. Thanks for getting it to me. Time. Well, it did. It's okay. I'm a pushover.
How would you go?
I didn't even think about it. I come up with ideas constantly, even in my sleep. I know. Well, maybe the city will do something. Because the city's going down. It's never looked like this before, ever. They need to knock down almost everything in Ocean Shores Boulevard. It needs to be red tagged. Period. It's, I mean, gosh.
Both sides.
When we had our women's meeting, whatever that was last time, when you were there, we had our board meeting right before our meeting, and the door was open, and this lady came in, homeless, obviously, with many issues, and it's constant in our city. It's really sad. I mean, they don't want. If they do, it's their way only. And it's like, anyway, my point is that it's getting worse. Oh, no.
Never mind.
Hi, Denise. What did you say about the speed bumps? Well, I love them. Well, and I wanted to say something to that guy over there because I'd already written my thing out. And what he doesn't know is that there were studies done. Actually, the ex-mayor, barely. But the traffic counters across the road, those were on Dolphin, way before radar signs were up. And, so that guy, they pass us all the time. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's horrible. And someone who's riding my kids on and what they don't understand is that there are years. So I knew they couldn't go. I know. No, it's not tourists. Oh, it's not people tourists. Live here. And people on Jet Lake, I call it fun. When I did the study, that there are three main arteries of routes, and that's why they don't get caught. Anyway, they should. Thank you. Yeah, you bet. Well, I could have gone longer, but I wanted to be short and sweet. It's funny. Good. Wasn't that one of my points? Number 7, whatever it was. So, that was the whole point. You don't damn live here. That's right. I live here. Was because for a while I just stopped walking. Because I walk up now. I don't have a choice. Yeah. And then I actually okay.
So we're going to get started here in about 40 seconds.
I could have read it wrong too. Thank you, though.
Hey, Sarah, maybe we should have one of those lights for like they do at the theater when you go to a play or something. Flicker back and forth, yeah. All right, we're back in session. We have a public hearing, and we will recess this regular city council meeting at 7:30 to convene our public hearing. This is a public hearing before the City Council of the City of Ocean Shores, Washington, to receive public testimony for or against the proposed rezone of Division 17, Block 2, Lot 44 of Ocean Shores, the property of 1045 Tonquin Avenue Southwest, Ocean Shores, Washington, from a R7 multifamily medium density to a B1 retail commercial. This will be presented by our city planner, Marshall Reed.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to kind of go over the outline of the hearing, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the staff report that was provided to the Planning Commission this week, last week, excuse me. And then I'm going to, we have the applicants available online to provide additional comments. And then we're going to go to public comment. I'm going to read into the record some written comments that we received. And then we'll open it up in room and then go to remote, similar to what we do in our normal public comment section. So, okay, so this is an application for a rezone, rezone 25-00001. I've got one too many zeros in my staff report. Sorry about that. And this is the Hall and Lemieux application. Date that it was submitted is 5/28/2025. Date of the report was 6/4/2025. The application is for a rezone, a request changing the zoning from an R7 multifamily medium density to a B1 retail commercial for the purpose of transient rental. George Hall and Michelle Lemieux at 1045 Tonquin Avenue Southwest in Ocean Shores, Washington, 98569 are the applicants. Project description, the name of the project was the Hall and Lemieux project. Parcel number 093301204400. That is Division 17, Block 12, and Lot 44. The site address is 1045 Tonquin Avenue Southwest with a lot size of approximately 9,178 square feet. The current zoning of this parcel is R7. The land use is multifamily medium density. It is not in the shoreline jurisdiction. The surrounding conditions for the zoning, it is R7 multifamily to the north and south. East is R1 single family, and to the west is R7 multifamily medium density. The land use designation, to the north, we have multifamily medium density, same on the south. The east is single family, and to the west we have multifamily medium density. The existing land use, to the north is undeveloped, to the south is undeveloped, to the east there's a single family residential, and to the west is undeveloped. And I'm considering the buffer between the Oyhut Bay planned unit development and the R7 properties in this area as undeveloped land. It's a buffer between the two. Okay, the background, the subject property addressed at 1045 Tonquin Avenue Southwest is located in the southwest quadrant of Ocean Shores. The closest intersecting road is Marine View Drive Southwest, roughly 237 feet to the north. The property is located in the R7 multifamily medium density zone. The public hearing notices for the rezone application 25 number 1 scheduled for Tuesday, June 24th, were sent to the owners within 300 feet of the subject property on June 6th, 2025, as required by the Ocean Shores Municipal Code 1752090. The hearing information is also available at the City of Ocean Shores website, www.osgov.com. The notice of the public hearing was provided to the Daily World newspaper for publication in the June 10th and June 12th, 2025 editions. Staff analysis, the rezone of this parcel from R7 to B1 is necessary in order to permit and license the use of a transient rental. The standard of review, the project proposed for rezoning was reviewed per Ocean Shores Municipal Code 1728020. permitted uses of the R7 and Ocean Shores Municipal Code 1734-020, which is the B1 zone retail commercial. The R7 zone specifically prohibits the permitting and licensing of a transient rental. The B1 zone is intended for retail commercial uses and providing day-to-day goods and services. Financial, professional, personal, and commercial services are intended for this district, as well as mercantile, lodging, food, and other common goods and services. All uses and structures are to be of good appearance, well-designed, and free of hazards, nuisances, or other unattractive attributes. The proposed project would be prohibited in an R7 zone per Ocean Shores Municipal Code 1728-020. Permitted uses are as follows. All uses in the R1 zone, two-family dwellings, multifamily dwellings, and the district is intended for medium-density multifamily dwelling structures in order to assure adequate light, air, open space, privacy, and the protection of property values while providing affordable housing in the community. Row houses and other similar forms of development may be permitted if the location and design of the development is consistent with the purpose of the district and makes adequate provision for circulation, utilities, and protection of the environment. Limited forms of commercial uses serving the immediate residential area may also be permitted. Other usage should only be allowed if they are compatible with these values and consistent with the overall public interest. Where the proposed use would be inconsistent with the purpose of the district, a rezone to B1 retail commercial is required at a minimum to allow for the use of transient rental. The proposed site plan would be required to conform to all city standards. Approving the application would not reduce the dimensional requirements of the district. The summary of criteria for a transient rental, Ocean Shores Municipal Code 1750.055, transient rentals. The purpose of the ordinance codified in this section by petition or initiative is to protect the character of the city's residential neighborhoods by prohibiting transient rental of dwellings and recreational vehicles therein. Use of dwellings for transient rental purposes has unmitigatable adverse impacts on surrounding residential uses and properties and is therefore prohibited except as provided for in these zoning regulations. It is found and determined that transient rental of dwellings has been a permitted use in the past and that the lawful use of property pursuant to the Ocean Shores Municipal Code sections 1750-055 and 1716-050 and the Ocean Shores Ordinance 419 of 1986 and 518 of 1991 may continue for a specified period subject to certain conditions contained in this section. These provisions for individualized determinations that lawful investments specifically committed to transient occupancy have been made and warrant longer amortization periods. Section B of this, prohibition of transient rental with exceptions. No owner, person, or entity shall occupy, use, operate, rent, or lease, nor offer, nor negotiate to use, lease, or rent a dwelling in the R1, R2, R3, 4, 5, 6A, 6B, 6C, R7, R8, and R9 zones for transient rental except a dwelling holding a lawful conditional use permit for the transient rental on the effective date of the ordinance codified in this section and which complies with the requirements of the subsection of this section. The Hall and Lemieux property is located in the R7 zone where a transient rental or nightly rental would be prohibited. In the R7 multifamily zone, a single-family residence is designated as a permitted use and would be legal under all applicable city development regulations and feasibility based on conditions of the parcel. In order to operate a business as a transient rental, the parcel must be rezoned to a minimum B1 retail commercial wherein a transient rental would be a permitted use. The recommendation, should the Planning Commission approve this rezone, the Planning Department recommends conditions as listed in addition to any conditions imposed by the Planning Commission or City Council. Condition number 1 would have been a State Environmental Protection Act, SEPA, environmental checklist would be required, and an Ocean Shores business license would need to be established for a B1 retail commercial, and then follow the rest of the code that would go along with the transient rentals. And that concludes the staff report. We did have a couple of written comments that came into the planning department preceding the hearing, and so I'm going to read those into the record. The first one is from Deanna and Charles Frady in Ocean Shores. Dear Planning Department, we are writing to express our mutual objection of the rezone request by George Hall and Michelle Lemieux, address 1045 Tonquin Avenue Southwest, Ocean Shores, Washington, parcel 0933-0120-4400. My husband, Charles Frady, and I own a nearby residence located at 117 Marine View Drive, Southwest, Ocean Shores. In July, we intend to relocate to this residence full-time. We purchased this home with our intention of enjoying our retirement years in a family-oriented neighborhood, which now includes families with young children and retirees. Further, we intentionally purchased in a neighborhood that was zoned for residential use only, and were encouraged that Ocean Shores had limited the Oyhut Bay planned community to be primarily inward-facing with clearly defined zoning. We assumed this was thoughtfully considered by the Ocean Shores Planning Department to limit the impact of the Oyhut Bay retail, restaurants, and vacation rental properties on the surrounding neighborhoods. We do enjoy the amenities of Oyhut Bay planned community. We were not concerned about the Oyhut Bay community's expansion to the development and establishment of 5 vacation rental homes located on the canal at Marine View Drive. Unfortunately, we were naive in our considerations. With the addition of more Oyhut Bay community vacation rental properties on the Marine View Drive and a bar in the Oyhut retail building close to Marine View Drive, we have seen an increase in loud disruptive noise well into the night and alcohol under the influence related incidents. Last summer, when the terrible vehicle accident occurred on Tonquin Avenue Southwest, we were first on the scene administering aid to the injured people. When that incident occurred, we were so thankful that there were not many pedestrians involved, or not any pedestrians involved. There are many more people of all ages that walk and bike from Marine View Drive onto Tonquin Avenue to enjoy the nature preserve and beach there. This neighborhood street should remain a quiet and safe residential access route. We understand that we cannot interfere with the permitted zoned use already established. However, we can and do strongly urge the planning department to uphold the current residential zoning to prevent further business-oriented spread into our neighborhood. Please note that on the surface of this single rezone request may seem inconsequential. However, this rezone request from R7 to B1 has the potential to open the proverbial floodgates. Should this request be approved, then it will establish a precedent for further rezone requests with the potential of more businesses, including transient housing, spilling into our neighborhood. We walk our dogs here. Our children and grandchildren ride bikes on the quiet street leading to the beach. We visit with our neighbors there. Our families desire to sleep peacefully in our neighborhood. Please help us preserve our neighborhood and our safety by not approving this rezone request. You are welcome to contact us directly, and then they give their contact information. The next written submittal was from Randolph Peck in the city of Ocean Shores. He writes, I oppose the rezoning to B1. We already had one owner on Marine View Drive attempt to get a conditional use to allow nightly rental. Now we have a change of zoning to affect the same change in another residential zoned area. The camel is still trying to get his nose under the tent. We voted to limit nightly rental to B1 areas. Oyhut Bay's business plan allows for nightly rental, and the city changed the zoning for a whole parcel to allow it. Just because you are adjacent to that property does not afford you the right to change the zoning. If you want to do nightly rental, you buy in B1 zone. Also, was that house built to the IBC requirements as set forth by our building official? I suspect it wasn't. Stop trying to get around the will of the voting citizenry. Nightly rental has been banned in Mammoth Lake, Anaheim, San Diego, Asheville, Steilacoom, Leavenworth, and many other tourist destinations. Why are we once again behind the curve? Do not allow the attempted creep of nightly rental. If someone wants to do it correctly, buy B1, build it per the code, and don't try to backdoor the process. And that concludes the written comments for that hearing. and I'll turn it back over to the mayor excuse me.
You wanted to have the.
I would like to
owners-
have the applicants are hopefully available online. Do we have them there, Sarah? Nicole? Okay, so what I would like to do is allow the applicants an opportunity to add to my staff report and any other details that they feel would be pertinent for the council and the mayor to hear tonight.
Hello, can you hear us?
Yeah, we can hear you, George. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Marshall. So, good evening, Mayor, Council. We are requesting a zoning change only because that is our only option at this point. We attended the Planning Commission meeting, and we were just kind of hoping for seeking some guidance and some direction, and how to proceed. It's like that last letter pointed out that we were accused us of trying to basically, cheat the system and backdooring this and a camel under the blanket, and none of those things are what we were trying to do. And the prior letter to that said that, if we wanted to do a transient rental, then why don't we buy in a B1 zone and do that properly? On that note, I'd like to say that, can you pull up the map, babe?
Are we able to share?
Can we share our screen?
Oh, the map right there.
Yes,
Yeah,
we can see your map.
That's not our map, though. I mean, it is a map. No, I have notes on the other map. Sorry about that. We should have been a little more prepared.
Are we able to share the screen or no? No? Okay.
Oh, we're not?
All right. Well, we can use that map. Will you show it, please? Yeah. Thank you.
We can't share screen this time? Okay. Can whoever brought that last picture up, bring it up again, please? Okay, so there's our lot, the green one. That's lot 44. The lot next to that, thank you. The lot next to that is a wooded lot, lot 43. And then the lot on the corner there is lot 42. Now that particular lot, it's unfortunate we can't share the screen, but we had photos and stuff. That particular lot is basically, I'm sure that with being residents of Ocean Shores, you've been down there, and that is landscaped on the Marine View Drive side. And it's pretty. And then there's on this side, on the lower, or what would be, I guess, the southwest side of that lot, our side of that lot, is a easement driveway. And it's gravel road that allows people to, for whatever reason, access the businesses from the back side of the businesses, meaning the store, the taps and corks, when they have a clear main entrance off of Marine View Drive. And there's, I believe, two of them, honestly. So one south and one north. But yeah, there it is. And that allows back access to those stores and facilities. So that lot, I assume, is owned by OIHUT, and they're allowed to do whatever they want, or within the R7 zone, that our lot located 2 lots down, we're not allowed any of the same privileges or things that the OIHUT Resort is allowed. And as you can see, our lot in the green line there, we put up a fence that blocks off that parking lot from the store there. So our fence line is basically the backside of the parking lot of that OIHUT store. And go ahead, sure.
Ocean Shore zoning map. And it showed color-wise.
We are in the
So-
blue,
right.
same zone.
So,
George and Michelle, you're not either speaking into the microphone well enough or not picking it up. Just so you're aware, the hearing documents have that zoning map in it that shows your parcel and the Oyhut Bay planned unit development as being the same color.
Yep.
And so if that's the point that you're trying to make, then we have that information.
Yeah, that actually is a very big part of the point. That
And across the street of the canal, the yellow homes across the canal from Oyhut are not, I mean, they're Oyhut homes, but it's not the same color. It's not the B1 zone at all. It shows that it's yeah, so it shows their
we're basically wondering why we're not allowed the same privileges as being in the same zone and being 2 lots down and our back fence being in the same zone as the store. Why we're not allowed the same privileges as the Oyhut Resort.
Well, so I'll give a brief explanation. The Oyhut Bay planned unit development is a development that's larger. The planned unit development regulations require that this type of an agreement be applied to a parcel 1 acre or larger. And they negotiated this agreement with the city council and went through public hearings and a full environmental impact statement, mitigated all the wetlands on their property, and were allowed to amend that into the R1 zone across the street. They owned all those parcels over there and rolled that all in under a previous agreement. But
rolled it all into a previous agreement?
It was through an amendment to the previous agreement.
Okay.
I don't have the exact year. I didn't know that would be relevant to this case, but that's the history on that.
Okay.
So as a person that doesn't know all of this going into this and looking at the city zoning map, how are we supposed to differentiate, the difference of, say, Oyhut owning this lot, that lot, and the lots across the street that are in a different zone, but we're in that same zone? How are we supposed to know, as a normal person that does not join these meetings all the time and know everything about zoning, how are we supposed to know that we're not included or inclusive into what appears to be the same space?
Well, what I can tell you is the normal process in purchasing a piece of property with the intent to develop that property, most people start out with a feasibility meeting with the planning department to investigate the zoning allowances or disallowances in those areas.
We understand that's where we went wrong.
Okay.
Not knowing, but
you were asking, where you would get this information. I'm simply,
yes, sir.
explaining.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you, Marshall. And we just right off the bat, we just saw the map and thought we were okay. So
we didn't question the map that's on the Ocean Cities.
Unfortunately,
site.
we didn't question it until we went to get a business license to start a business. And then that's how we found out that we are actually apparently not in the same colored zone somehow as the resort. So we were taken in, and this is where we're at. That's what brings us here today. And don't mean to take up a bunch of you guys' times, but just so you know, our intentions were not to gain financially or anything like that. We've been coming to Ocean Shores for many, many years and love to hear. And actually, I built this house because I wanted to retire there. And now, being ignorant apparently to the zoning differences and what you're allowed to do, and not doing the research myself prior to building a home, this is where we're at. So just would like to let everybody know that this was not an intentional thing. Obviously, it was financially it's adding to the burden. We just want everybody to know that we wanted to be a part of this community in the future, but not sure now if that's going to be possible.
We're gonna just do a short retires. And then
We didn't hear your comment, Michelle. Could you restate that, please?
sorry, he retires in a couple of years, so we were gonna move to Ocean Shores.
we're still not getting your voice in. George is clear, but it's difficult to understand you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, that's better. Thank you.
Okay. No, he retires in a couple years, and then I can work from home as a child therapist online. But we were planning on we were wanting to rent a place a couple weekends a month just to help pay for the mortgage until then. And then, yeah, we didn't know. We didn't know to question the map that is on the Ocean City website.
So just to be clear, the map does not tell you that you would be able to do a transient rental. The map tells you specifically that you would not be able to do it. The question.
Right, you're right. And I assumed by the whole resort being in the.
Okay, I think I understand what you're saying there. We understand where you're at. Did you have anything else that you'd like to add before we go to public comment? Did we lose him, Nicole?
And I don't know what a conditional use permit, if that would be better. So that's why we're coming to you guys for help.
Yeah, conditional use permits and variances would not be applicable in this situation. The only avenue that you had, and we kind of laid that out to you when you were making an application, was for a rezone.
Right, that's why we're here, yep, for the rezone. That's the only option we have. And if we can't get a rezone.
Yeah, had there been another avenue, we would have
look at it. I'm sorry, Marshall.
Yeah, had there been another avenue, we would have pushed you that direction. But the only avenue to allow for a transient rental in a zone is for that to be a B1 or a B2 designation.
Yes, because there's no other options.
Right. Correct.
And I just want to let you know I appreciate everything you know about all of this, Marshall. So you're very informative and know what you're doing with this. I guess that's all we've got.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification.
Yep. Thank you, Marshall.
So, Mayor, at this line,
All right.
I'd like to open it up.
Okay, we'll go to public comment. Anybody? Yes, go ahead.
I'm Kurt Dooley. I feel for the homeowners, I really do. I hope they eventually move here and enjoy our city. But I would also object to this. I don't see any benefit to the city. I don't see any benefit to the taxpayers or to the public interest. The only one that would benefit is the homeowners who admittedly made a mistake, and I'm sorry about that. But as one of the letter writers said, it opens up this Pandora's box of the next thing you know, the neighbors are going to want a variance, and then the people on the next street over want a variance, and everybody wants the zoning changed, and I think the zones need to be left as they are. I see no reason to change it. Thank you.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Jan Hyatt. I would be opposed. Hello?
Go ahead.
Thank you. I would be opposed also to making any changes. I believe once the city starts making change on one unit, do they then have to do it for the next one and the next one? I have empathy for these owners also. I wish that they would have done a little bit more research on this, but I'm not sure that this is good for the city to start changing what we are already now zoned. I'm in a R1 zone, and I really wouldn't appreciate it if the city made changes next to me also. So I hope that a wise decision following the rules and regulations will be made. Thank you.
Anybody else want to make a comment? We have anybody online? No? All right. I guess that will end our...
Yep. That'll conclude the hearing?
Conclude our hearing. And that is at 7:59. So we're on to old business. We have an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Ocean Shores, Washington, establishing Ocean Shores Municipal Code, Chapter 8.30, relating to short-term occupation facility standards, providing for servability, and establishing an effective date. And that is going to be presented by Councilmember Richard Wills.
Thank you. So we have discussed this ordinance in at least two previous city council meetings. And at the last city council meeting that convened, we had the first reading. So this is the second reading, and this ordinance is eligible for council action. I hope we have council action. And I think that everybody's had an opportunity to read and understand the changes that were suggested at the last meeting have been incorporated. So that's all I've got to say.
All right. Public comment. Do we have any public comment on this? None present, so online.
We have Don Williams.
Go ahead, Don.
Okay, are we okay here?
We hear you.
Okay, I want to follow up. I spoke about this at the last meeting, and I still have some more issues I want to bring up. First of all, that the ordinance makes reference to something called an inspection official, and I don't have I'd like to get clarification. Who is this inspection official? Is it a city employee, like the building officer, the building official, or is it a state health department employee that was described by Mr. Wills at the last meeting that apparently goes around the state and does these inspections? And who is that going to be? We should figure that out now so we know what it is. The second thing is that in the second reading on the agenda on page 78, a part of the paragraph E, about 1/3 of the way down the page, has been removed since the last meeting. And what got removed was it says the inspection official shall maintain records of hotels in good standing and may periodically verify compliance. And I'm just wondering why that was taken out. And without having any records, what's the point to having these inspections? And I think that the question is, does the city really want to have these inspections? And how can you manage them without having some kind of a record? So I'm wondering why that was taken out, and if it should have been. And my last point is that the last council meeting, I pointed out that the definition of a hotel, it's shown at the top of page 77, it includes all rentals of 30 days or less. And that has to include single families that are rented out their home and Airbnbs. And what happened was I mentioned that, and somebody on the council thought it was ridiculous to consider having to inspect private homes. But that's what the ordinance says, and it's the plain language of the ordinance, and it's what it means. So if you can obviously go ahead and allow the wording to stand as it is, but the plain language says that single-family homes and Airbnbs are included in this list because, as defined by the hotel in the ordinance, they are less than 30 days rentals. So I guess you can do what you want, but I think you should clarify that so that the language of the ordinance or the municipal code agrees with what the intent is. And those are my comments. Thank you.
Right. Any other online comments? No. All right, council. Questions, comments? Yeah, go ahead, Richard.
I would say that by adopting, as this ordinance suggests, that we are adopting the handbook that governs short-term rentals and the various WACs that adopt city ordinances that adopt short-term rentals, that satisfies all of the requirements, and all of the definitions are clearly defined. So I think that this ordinance is very well written as it stands, and I'm waiting for what the rest of the council has to say in a council decision.
Okay. Anybody else have anything they want to say? Go ahead, Lisa.
So I'm assuming, so under paragraph E, it does talk about the records in there and schedules and internal reports. Was he referring to something that was removed originally that was there as an F? Okay, because it just shows F with nothing there.
It's up further in, it's the little e.
Oh, the little e. Okay. Well, I'm assuming that we did that because in the big E it does talk about that, so it was redundant at that point. But in terms of vacation rentals, yes, that would include vacation rentals as this ordinance is written. It's overnight rentals, so.
I agree. A vacation rental is a vacation rental, and they all need to be inspected. So I don't think that there's any room for misunderstanding.
All right. Anybody else? Denise, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to confirm what Richard said. I actually did go at the conference to something on short-term rentals, and regulating the housing rentals is just as important as looking at the hotels, motels, and B&Bs.
Anybody else? All right. Do we want to have action on this item?
I'd like to make a motion that the City Council approve an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Ocean Shores, Washington, establishing Ocean Shores Municipal Code, Chapter 8.30, relating to short-term occupation facilities standards, providing for severability and establishing an effective date.
Second.
All right, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Now we move on to new business, and we have an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Ocean Shores, Washington, amending the zoning classification of certain real property within the division of Block 17, Division 17, Block 12, Lot 44 of Ocean Shores, the property of 1045 Tonquin Avenue Southwest, Ocean Shores, Washington, from a R7 multifamily medium density to a B1 retail commercial. And that again is presented by our lead planner, Marshall Reed.
Okay, this is, I'm just going to read this right straight out of the agenda bill as an ordinance. The subject is an ordinance of the City of Ocean Shore, or excuse me, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Ocean Shores, Washington, amending the zoning classification of certain real property within Division 17, Block 12, and Lot 44 of Ocean Shores, the property of 1045 Tonquin Avenue Southwest, Ocean Shores, Washington, 98569, from R7 multifamily medium density to B1 retail commercial.
All right, thanks. Any public comments on this? Any online?
We do. We have Don Williams.
Go ahead, Don.
Okay, are we okay today?
Yep.
All right, thank you very much. I attended that June 24th public hearing with the Planning Commission. I spoke in opposition of the rezone, and I want to just briefly cover my reasons. It was pretty much the same thing that was already been spoken. The entire neighborhood here is zoned for R7, and having one property zoned for B1 in a residential area changes the entire scope of that neighborhood. And it's just not fair to do it. And it's also been city policy since day one. And so the other thing is, if you look at the building permit, it's included not in this. It's included in the part of the public hearing. The building permit, the applicant applied for a single-family residence, R1. That's what he applied for. So I guess if a mistake was made, it was made, but it was in fact applied for with a permit as an R1. And the next thing I want to say is that contrary to what is shown on page 85 of the planning person's report, where he says only one person spoke at the meeting, there was a number of people, including myself, that spoke. It wasn't just one person that spoke, and they all spoke in opposition to it. And there's also an error on page 83 of the agenda bill in the fourth whereas. Marshall didn't say this, but the Planning Commission voted unanimously against approving this ordinance. All members voted 100% against it. Yet in the fourth whereas, it says that in error, that the Planning Commission voted in favor of this rezoning. I don't know why that's in there, how that ever got in there. It's obviously a typo, and I have to bring it up because nobody else brought it up. But the Planning Commission voted 100% against this particular change. And those are my comments. Thank you.
All right, thank you. No others? All right, council, any comments, questions? Yes.
Well, I believe last year, or maybe the year before, we had another request along Marine View Drive. And we said no to rezoning for that. And this is the same thing as far as I can tell.
Yeah, that is correct. And if I could address Mr. Williams' comments, he is correct in that we did have other in the room. I spoke this evening of the written comments that were submitted, but I did not speak of the in-room comments. And all of the comments from that evening or from that afternoon I think there were 4 or 5 people that spoke in opposition to this rezone. And in addition, the Planning Commission does make a recommendation to deny the rezone from that body. So thank you, Don.
All right, thanks for that. Lisa?
Marshall, I think the part of the confusion, because I heard the owner say apply for a conditional use permit too, and I think it was on page 45 of the staff report and under B, because it does say for the transient rental except a dwelling holding a lawful conditional use permit for transient rental on the effective date of the ordinance codified. So I think maybe the confusion was this ordinance versus the original ordinance.
So the original ordinance there was a time period of 5 or 7 year time period that allowed for people that had purchased and built transient rentals for the purpose of having that investment be paid for by the rental, the transient nature rental. They were to be able to amortize those a little bit longer to make those payoffs, but you had to show that you had made that investment with that intent. That section of code did allow an exception for that, but there are no houses today that would qualify for that exemption. It can't happen.
I think that's where his confusion, because that was my first blush too when I read that. I thought, oh, well, why didn't they just go that route? But I understand.
Okay,
I
great.
just, but I am opposed to this. This is definitely a spot zone. And yeah.
All right, Richard?
I'd like to make a motion that the City Council approve an ordinance of the City of Ocean Shores, Washington, amending the zoning classification of certain real property within Division 17, Block 12, Lot 44 of Ocean Shores, the property of 1045 Tonquin Avenue Southwest, Ocean Shores, Washington, 98569, from R7. No, I said that wrong. I would like to make a motion that we disapprove this ordinance. My apologies, and I'm not going to reread all of that. From R7 multifamily medium density to B1 retail, I make a motion that we disapprove this adoption of this ordinance. Was that too what? Or we don't even have to do anything. We just have to say. Okay, my correction. I got ahead of myself. Thank you.
All right. Any other discussion or anything from anybody? And there'll be no council action on this.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. All right, thank you, Marshall, for all the work you did on this. Next up, we got an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Ocean Shores, Washington, amending Ocean Shores Municipal Code 15.24.020 relating to electrical wiring methods and materials to address coastal durability, grounding requirements, providing for servability, and establishing an effective date. And that's going to be by both of you. Have an introduce Our chair of our planning commission, Mark Lawless, is at the table with Marshall Reed.
Yeah, thank you. Mayor, City Council, members of the community. This item is in coordination with the building department and the planning department. We have added F to the municipal code 15.24.020 relating to the electrical wiring methods and materials. The summary is the City of Ocean Shores seeks to ensure the safety, reliability, and durability of electrical systems installed within its jurisdiction, particularly in the coastal environment. Corrosion and grounding challenges related to salt air and high moisture conditions require material and design standards that exceed general inland construction practices. The City Council and Planning Commission find it necessary to require stainless steel meter sockets suitable for coastal environments, as well as enhanced grounding systems for newly established and replacement electrical installations. The amendments presented under Ocean Shores Municipal Code Section 15.24.020 are intended to promote long-term safety, reduce maintenance risks, and align with best practices in electrical construction in coastal zones. And as I said, we have added Section F. All new or replacement meter sockets shall be constructed of stainless steel suitable for coastal environments with corrosion resistance equivalent to or exceeding type 316 stainless steel. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Do we have any public comment? All right, seeing none, we have one online. All right.
Yeah.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, are we on okay?
You're on
ahead,
okay.
Don.
Thanks, Don.
Okay, well, I certainly agree that the meter panels should be something besides just the metal. I think a lot of them in town are rotting out. I've been able to keep mine 100% protected for over 20 years by I wax it by hand every winter, and that has preserved it. But if I guess I have just a question. While I agree that the meter panels should probably be aluminum for the reason, stainless steel for the reasons that are cited, isn't there a similar problem with the housing for your outside heat exchange unit? Those are terribly rusted out, and I've been able to preserve mine for a long time by waxing it every year. But it's the same issue with that piece of electronics than you have with the meter panel. So I'm wondering why the requirement for stainless steel is only limited to the power meter panel and not other things outside, which would include the housing of your heat exchanger, which almost every single house in Ocean Shores has. And that's my only comment. I'm in favor of doing this, but I think maybe it needs to be extended. Thank you.
All right, do we have any others? All right, council.
Can we go back to Marshall and Mr. Lawless on as far as responding to Don Williams?
Yeah, sure, I'd be glad to. We looked at these stainless steel sockets. I don't mind. We'll go back and look at heat exchange units. I'll check with the building department, make sure that we don't do one at a time. What do we need to look at to change to improve the community? So I will take that on.
Yeah, I don't know if you need to do that, but the point is a meter socket is a lot more dangerous than your compressor unit that you have for your heat exchanger. But that's unfused wire in that meter socket. So, and there's a lot of them around town that are rusting. We see them all over the place, and so that's actually a bigger danger for a problem there than the heat pumps. But if that's something that we can look at later down the road,
Yeah, I'd just like to add there's a cost difference between an upgrade to a stainless steel meter enclosure as opposed to installing a stainless steel heat exchange for a mini split or something like that. So it might be worth, if you want to explore that in the future, that cost difference is not going to be a couple $100. It's going to be probably in the thousands based on my experience down at the wastewater plant. So, yeah, okay, great, thank you.
Yeah, that's a lot more expensive. Yeah. Anybody else have any questions or comments? No? Yes, Lisa?
I'd like to waive the second reading and make a motion to approve an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Ocean Shores, Washington, amending Ocean Shores Municipal Code 1524020 relating to electrical wiring methods and materials to address coastal durability and grounding requirements, providing for severability and establishing an effective date.
Second.
All right, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Okay. We have another ordinance for the City Council of the City of Ocean Shores, Washington, amending the Ocean Shores Municipal Code, Title 17, Section 17.04, to add new definitions to an existing list and establish an effective date. That's also presented by our Planning Chair, Mark Lawless.
Thank you again. The summary on that is due to recent code amendments, the Planning Commission deemed it necessary to add new definitions to an existing list in Ocean Shores Municipal Code 17.04. These additions were based on definitions sourced directly from the International Building Code to ensure consistency and clarity. And those three definitions are awnings, canopies, and intermodal shipping containers connexes. And those definitions are on page 4 and 5 of the agenda bill.
Is that it? They're good? Okay. I'm sorry. Any public comment on that? Anybody online? Nobody online. Council? Any questions or comments? Yes, Richard?
I'd like to make a motion that the City Council approve an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Ocean Shores, Washington, amending Ocean Shores Municipal Code Title 17, Section 17.04 to add new definitions to the existing list and establish an effective date.
I'd like to make a friendly amendment that we waive the second reading if we're approving the first.
I agree. Thank you.
And then I second.
All right, we have a second waiving the first reading, or second reading, excuse me. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. All right, another ordinance here with the City of Ocean Shores City Council, amending the Ocean Shores Municipal Code 17.26.060 relating to metal siding and temporary use of shipping containers provided for servability and temporary use, and establishing a effective date. So go ahead, Mark.
Yes, thank you very much. On this one, the Planning Commission, in cooperation with our lead planner, Marshall Reed, are adding an exception to the current code to allow intermodal shipping containers on a temporary basis. And what we have done is we have added an exception on item D. The exception is intermodal shipping containers are permitted only as a temporary accessory structure outlined under Ocean Shores Municipal Code 17.50.110A. Thank you.
All right, any public comment on that? Anybody online? All right, council. Any comments, questions? We want to have council action? Okay, go ahead, Lisa.
I'd like to waive the second reading and make a motion to approve an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Ocean Shores, Washington, amending Ocean Shores Municipal Code 1726-060 relating to metallic siding and temporary use of shipping containers, providing for severability and establishing an effective date.
Second.
Got a second? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. All right, I think we're going to take a 5-minute break.
Okay.
All right, thanks. All right, we'll be starting up here in about 20 seconds. All right, we'll keep on going here. We got a lot of stuff to cover. Next up is an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Ocean Shores, amending Section 17.50.110 and Section 17.50.210 of the Ocean Shores Municipal Code relating to accessory structure standards and architectural features, providing for servability and establishing an effective date. And that is presented by our Planning Commissioner, Marshall Reed, and our Commission Chair, our Planning Commission Chair, Mark Lawless.
Thank you. The Planning Commission, in cooperation with our lead planner, Marshall Reed, proposes to update Ocean Shores Municipal Code 17.50.110 accessory structure standards to include intermodal shipping containers, along with Ocean Shores Municipal Code 17.50.210 architectural features to clarify what is and what is not allowed in regards to metal roofing and siding.
All right. Any public comment? Anybody online? Council, any questions? Yes, Richard.
I have a couple questions, and I'll start with H3 on page 3 of 6 of this ordinance. Talks about exposed fastener rib or architectural metal roofing is not permitted for any structure larger than 200 square feet. And then H4, right underneath that, seems to contradict it. Can you help make me better educated?
Yeah, I'll take a stab at that for you, Richard. So what we're trying to do is we've got an inordinate amount of these old hickory sheds and different types of sheds coming in on the weekends or being built that are unpermitted accessory structures, wherein they were using metal fasteners instead of the standing seam rib. We found that there are hundreds, if not 1,000, of these sheds that have been installed over the years, not just within the last couple of years, but over the years with metal fasteners. And so what we're doing with this code is defining the sheds as a permissible use of the metal fasteners. The 200 square feet gets you down into that unpermitted accessory structure. If you were to go up to a garage size structure, then you're above that 200 square feet and you would be required to use standing seam or one of the other roofing systems.
Help me understand what do we mean by a standing seam? Is that where the two pieces of roof paneling interlock together? I just don't quite visualize.
So the standing seam or snap lock type roofing systems do not have an exposed metal fastener. They're a hidden fastener that the roof covers up when they snap them down. And that's typically used in your residential structures or conditioned spaces, which we would still allow those type of roofing systems in the conditioned spaces, but we do not intend to allow by this code the exposed metal fasteners for conditioned spaces like houses and whatnot. We are still requiring the hidden fastener or snap lock as a trade name, standing seam type roofing system.
I think that I understand, but just to be sure, a traditional old corrugated metal roof was those wavy roofs, and one overlapped the other, and you screwed through that, and that's what we are prohibiting in a larger than 200 square feet.
Correct.
But you could use that on a 200 or less square foot shed.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, now I understand. Thank you.
In addition, to follow up on that particular comment, the roofing and fasteners, no matter what you're using, must still carry that guarantee of at least 20 years. And we pulled that straight out of the Ocean Shores Municipal Code that's already written, 1726-060D.
Right, yeah, go ahead, Richard.
So one more comment then, and that's H4A, small a. You just quoted, must have a 20-year compliance. And I think at the last council meeting, we approved that all exposed fasteners had to be stainless steel. And this says that as long as they are color coordinated, corrosion resistant with a 20-year guarantee, that now we don't have to use stainless steel, for example, on a metal carport roof.
Correct.
Okay, I just want to make sure I understand.
Provided that it's under 200 square feet.
Thank you.
That's not much of a carport.
It's not.
Under 200 square feet is what they said, Richard.
10 by 20 is a fairly normal carport size. 12 by 20 is more common. And if it was a 12 by 20 or a double car, then what kind of a roof would they have to have? They'd have to have the interlocking.
Either standing seam metal or composition or one of the other traditional roofing systems.
Okay.
Thank you.
Denise?
Yeah, I had a question regards to temporary roof covering. For example, if you look at the corner of Point Brown and J.K. Lewis, there's a structure there that is using a covering to the roof as temporary, and there are places throughout town where you see tarps. Where is that addressed? In terms of, whether they're temporary or not. I mean, some of these buildings, like the one on that corner, it seems to be their permanent solution.
Yeah, I can tell you that that's not going to be allowed as a permanent solution. And not being the building official, I can't have a super intelligent conversation about those membrane roofs. But membranes are allowed within the residential zones, but they have a specific application and they are not to be visible from, here it is right here. Membrane roofs comprised of torch down PVC hot tar as primary roofing material in a residential building are permitted, provided the exposed facade is screened from street level view. So from the planning's perspective, this would, that particular building that you're talking about would not be compliant. And that particular structure is being looked at. I don't know what the current status of it is, but I know that's in the process of being addressed.
All right, any other questions or comments, council? Go ahead, Lisa.
I'd like to make a motion to waive the second reading and approve an ordinance of the City Council of Ocean Shores, Washington, amending Section 1750, 110, and Section 1750, 210 of the Ocean Shores Municipal Code relating to accessory structure standards and architectural features, providing for severability and establishing an effective date.
Second.
Okay, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Next up, we got a resolution of the City Council of the City of Ocean Shores, Washington, establishing impressed accounts, appointing custodians for the accounts, establishing the amount of the monies to be on the deposit of each account, and rescinding prior resolution establishing and setting amounts of such accounts. And that's going to be presented by our Finance Director, Sarah Logan.
Hold on, I got to get rid of the sign ordinance first. Okay, so in February of this year, we brought this to you as we try to kind of assess areas that we have cash throughout the city and that we've deemed it unnecessary based on different programs we've brought online. So in February, we removed like the fire department need for cash because we put all the burn permits on our online system so people can go pay for them there. As you'll see on the resolution, the permit office, as the mayor spoke about in his mayor report, has gone cashless. So there's no need to have that $50 over there and have it needing to be accounted for in our financials monthly, along with being a part of our audit during the Washington State Auditor's Office being here. The finance department petty cash, they're again unnecessary, so the $150. We did have the convention center petty cash where they had $100, and then the convention center concessions change drawer had $1,000. We combined that called it the convention center petty cash and left it at 1,100. The reason being is that cash is utilized as a cash drawer for all of the events, and it would be unreasonable for an event to be cashless. So we just combined that for clarity's sake because we don't do concessions. Everything else stayed the same. KOSW's petty cash, they no longer need it. North Beach Independent Media has really taken over that role as they said they were going to during our budget season. So this is just updating so that our financials monthly can be updated and just having our accounts that we actually need on this resolution. We will ultimately probably bring it back with a little more information and maybe a little smaller amounts in some areas, but that'll be at a different date.
All right, thanks. Any public comment? Yes, go ahead.
I'm Kurt Dooley. I think it's a smart move to review and update how these small cash accounts are handled, who's responsible for them, how much is in them, and making sure everything's up to date. It might not seem like a big deal, but even these smaller dollar amounts should be managed carefully. I just encourage the city to keep good oversight in place, make sure these custodians know the rules, and keep the process transparent. Things like this help build and maintain trust in the process. Thanks.
All right, any other comments? Anybody online? No? Council? Questions or comments? Go ahead.
Okay, so I would like to go ahead and make a motion to approve a resolution of the City Council of the City of Ocean Shores, Washington, establishing impressed accounts, appointing custodians for the accounts, establishing the amount of monies to be on deposit in each account, and rescinding prior resolutions establishing and setting amounts of such accounts.
Second.
All right, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Next, we have a request of the City Council of the City of Ocean Shores, Washington, approving the amended cost allocation plan. And that's presented by our Finance Director, Sarah D. Logan. And is Tara Dunford? Oh, there she is. Okay, she's here. Go ahead.
Okay, so for all of you that haven't met her in person, this is Tara Dunford. She is a CPA who has been instrumental in helping us get through our budget season and kind of looking at things that we felt were inconsistent and finding better ways. One of which I was pretty forthcoming during our budget, that the cost allocation that we bought and paid for was, in my opinion, not transparent and didn't make a lot of sense. I could never speak to it or why we were doing it because I simply could not read it. And when you kind of looked at the dollars and cents, a lot of them seemed to kind of go around in a circle. So you couldn't tell a community member or council member, like, this is why it stops here. This is what it's used for. Tara had said that she kind of has a niche for these. She does them for other cities. And so she put together a revised cost allocation plan that kind of aligns with the finance committee team doing the work to clean up our budget. We believe that this will clean it up more. So the goal is, if the council approves this request, we will go to work backdating everything so that from 25 forward, it looks as it should, along with taking out any accounts, or archiving them, I should say, that haven't been used, updating bars codes that have been, removed from the bars codes manual, and kind of getting it to where our annual report, Tara won't hear me say explicit words too often. So that is the goal. And I'll let Tara, she brought a presentation of kind of what our cost allocation is and where we're going to go from here.
Thank you. So why we're here in front of you is because this document is part of your budget. So while we're not requesting a budget amendment and we're not increasing expenditures in any fund, this plan or method is included in the budget. So we want council to have the opportunity to comment on it and approve it. Purpose of cost allocation, just to give you a brief overview of what it is and why it's important. We need to assign indirect costs from central services, so HR, finance, admin, things that can't be charged directly to a function. We need to have a method of allocating those costs. This is to ensure that every fund that should be paying for services does pay for services. This is really your utility funds, and we'll talk about a couple other funds that we're going to include as well. The reason for the update, like Sarah said, the existing plan is very detailed, very complicated. There could be a need for that in certain situations. The city really isn't utilizing the plan that you have. It includes things that it really shouldn't, like depreciation, which is not a concept for cash basis cities. In fact, I don't believe that charging that the way that you have is appropriate. So streamlining the plan is really one of the reasons why we want to bring this to you. The plan as it is, I think we're into it maybe 8 to 10 hours to put it together, and it's something done in Excel that's very simple that finance staff can do themselves going forward. So there's no need for a big, complicated consultant study in the future. If we can go to the next slide, please. So streamlining, getting it a lot less complex. The current accounting is not correct. So the city is budgeting for this as a transfer in and transfer out. So it's overstating general fund revenue. You're booking a revenue for these transfers when really it should reduce costs. So these costs that are incurred by finance and admin should be reduced and reallocated to the correct funds. That was the frustrating part of the annual report that we probably spent a full day on, is manually updating all of this stuff and going through and reconciling. That has a huge cost and a big impact on staff and a high likelihood of making errors. So that will be a really nice change here. And then in this process, we went through everything that was included in the cost allocation, and we found things that really aren't valid, like the depreciation. And then we found other interesting things like, for example, fuel was not getting charged out to departments. So that needs to get corrected as part of this plan. So we really did go through line item by line item in the departments and clean everything up with this plan. So included in the plan, legislative, obviously council costs need to get allocated, executive, finance, clerk, utility billing. Utility billing is interesting because it's currently in Fund 439, which is another accounting complexity that's really not necessary. We're going to clean that up with this plan, make utility billing a general fund department, and allocate it as part of the cost allocation. No actual budget impact, just a lot of streamlining and cleanup and hopefully making the budget more transparent and easy to understand. Also included are legal costs, purchasing, and municipal vehicles. These things have been included in the plan in the past to some extent. Municipal vehicles specifically is an area we noticed where things were not getting fully allocated. The general fund was absorbing the cost of a lot of this stuff. We don't want that. Obviously, we need to fairly distribute the costs. So included in the allocation is going to be all of the utility funds, so sewer, storm, and water. As far as other funds, it's always optional to include or not. Convention, tourism, and EMS are currently included in the cost allocation plan, and I would recommend they continue to be. The reason is that they are self-funded and really like a standalone fund. Funds such as streets that are subsidized by the general fund don't need to be included, and they are not currently included. The reason for that is if you increase street expenses, you just have to increase the general fund subsidy, therefore going in a circle. So we're avoiding that. The goal here is streamlining, simplicity, meet the legal requirements, and be done. So we went through a process for every activity and came up with a unique measurement criteria for each one. So for example, legislative, we're going to allocate based on agenda items. We looked through and counted up. Payroll is going to be allocated based on salaries and benefits expenses, whereas the accounts payable clerk is going to be allocated based on non-salaries expenses. So we did go through a process to come up with with an appropriate measurement criteria depending on what the activity was. And what this looks like somewhat visually by section, you can see legislative has a huge percentage associated with general government. So most of the costs of council are staying within the general government. similar type picture for executive, which includes the mayor and the city administrator, allocated differently, but we still get, the bulk of the expenses staying in general government. Finance, slightly less in general government, but still a similar picture, even using different allocation methods for everything that's included in finance. City Hall, even more general government. This includes IT and human resources. Municipal vehicles. Of note here is that convention tourism is excluded. It doesn't participate in this, so is not picking up any part of the cost. And then utility billing is the somewhat new addition to the cost plan. This is not changing anything budget-wise. It's just moving it from Fund 439 into a new general fund department. The cost will be 100% allocated out to the utility funds. We'll just streamline your budget and accounting procedures by doing that. So where we get to in the end is we take those percentages that we just looked at and apply dollars. So we take the total budget for, I realize this is very hard to see, but I think you have it in your packets as well, a summary. But we're taking the actual biennial budget for each of our departments subject to allocation, and we're spreading those dollars out across the 5 funds that are going to be charged to come up with a total allocation that will be included in the budget. If you go back one slide, sorry. This is just a summary that shows the actual budget impact, current versus proposed under the new plan. Again, no budget amendment necessary because we are not increasing expenditures in any fund. We anticipate the net impact on the general fund to be around $340,000 for the biennium. Again, these are just estimates based on budget. As we do a true up to actual every year, these will get adjusted. And then there's some fine tuning that will happen, especially with the municipal vehicles. As the city starts direct coding, we'll get more accurate numbers. One thing of interest that we found while looking at this plan is that the general fund was paying $48,000 a month to the stormwater fund, and we could find no basis for why that was happening. So that has been taken out as part of this process. And that kind of offsets what I would consider an inappropriate charging of depreciation and kind of nets everything out fairly cleanly. And then as far as next steps, assuming council would like us to move forward with this, we need to create new codes, which will be general fund expenditure codes to show a reduction in expenditures, create the new utility billing department, eliminate Fund 439, clean up everything that's been done for 2025 to follow the new plan. At year end, finance will do a year end true up to actual. And then the plan should be updated, I would recommend, every other biennium. Happy to take questions.
We'll have public comment. Anybody? Yes, go ahead.
I just want to say, as an employee for the city that pays invoices almost daily sometimes, this was going to make me way more efficient. This is a huge, huge increase in our efficiency and update for us. So thank you, Tara and Sarah, for putting this together.
Any other comments out there? Nope, we got one online.
Okay, are we on?
Go ahead, Don.
Okay, I just have a couple of comments. I've been trying to follow the cost allocations for years, and it's something that a consultant in Oregon did a report, and it was just adopted. I don't think anybody really understood. I can understand why Sarah is difficult because it's awfully hard to understand, but it does represent, although the amount of money being moved around is quite a bit less than the tax revenue, the cost allocations are really the second largest revenue source for the general fund. And so they are very important. One of my questions is, they mentioned that no longer are you going to be moving money between the general fund and the street fund. But I just looked at the last biennium's budget, and in that particular budget, the general fund transferred, and these transfers are apparently not going to be done anymore for the street fund 101. The last budget, the last biennium, $770,000 was moved from the general fund to the street fund, and the cost allocation back to the general fund was only $420,000. So you got a big difference there. And my question is, where is that money going to be made up, since these transfers are not taking place anymore, in the street fund at least? My second question is that you say there's no budget amendments required. Well, I don't know how you can not have a budget amendment, because the budget for this particular biennium has been completed. It's been approved by the council. And it involves moving these funds around. 1/24 of that total every single month gets moved. That's how you do the cost allocation. So I'd like to understand better why a budget amendment is not required, when in fact such a great amount of money is being shifted from what it was when the council approved it, apparently, until it is now. Maybe the council did not approve a budget, but to me, it requires a budget amendment, and can somebody please explain why it doesn't? And those are my questions. Also, please explain how the street fund is going to live with such a big difference between what used to go to it from the general fund and what was taken out in a cost allocation. Thank you very much.
All right. Council. Yes, Lisa.
Sarah, Tara, did you want to take a stab at answering some of those?
Sure, thank you. The street fund, the transfer to the street fund will still happen. So we're not changing anything when it comes to subsidizing special revenue funds. We are removing the transfers into the general fund, which is not correct accounting per the state auditor's office BARS manual. The state auditor's office per state law prescribes correct accounting. Correct accounting is that cost allocation should reduce costs in the general fund and increase costs in the funds being charged. That's what we're correcting with this. The transfers from the general fund to special revenue funds, such as the street funds, will continue as budgeted. Nothing is changing there. That is correct accounting, appropriate accounting, correct budgeting, and it will continue. As far as not needing a budget amendment, we're not increasing expenditures in any fund. Budget amendments are required when you're increasing total expenditures. We are not doing that. Budget amendments are not required when you are decreasing revenue estimates, which is essentially what's happening here.
All right. Thank you. Council, any comments or questions? Go ahead, Allison.
I just want to say thank you being part of the finance committee when we had our first meeting and Sarah gave us the cost allocations and trying to forget it. It made 0 sense. And with what you have done in cleaning this up and streamlining it is going to be so much easier, not just for council to understand, but for our citizens to understand, where they're able to go on and look and they can see, and it makes total sense. And there's not hundreds of pages to go through. So thank you.
Well, and I would just include too, because Mr. Williams did bring up that previous cost allocation. That cost allocation cost the citizens $25,000, where, like Tara said, we're maybe 10 hours into this. And again, this is something that we'll be effectively able to update. It will become where it never has been. We've always shown those transfers in and out in our budget documents, but going forward, you'll have a clear and concise, this is what's happening, and this is the summary, and it's about 3 pages, and that's that. So, I mean, and through this exercise, we've also, like she said, determined inappropriate ways of placing money, such as the storm fund and things like that, which has offset the general fund and not kept those funds doing what they're supposed to be doing. So even if that was our only takeaway and we wanted to do, that's, $48,000 a month plus a $25,000 cost allocation every 2 years. It's just, it's better.
Go ahead, Richard.
I'd make a comment that I did my college education towards the end of my military career, so I was well into an adulthood. I was a 4.0 student until I got to accounting. I got D's in both quarters of accounting. I am so grateful that you have whittled this down into something that even with my meager accounting experience and knowledge, I can begin to understand this. For 9 years, I've struggled with our budget and just said, I just don't quite get it. So I want to thank both you and Sarah for the effort you've put in. And as Allison pointed out, what was a document, a book this big, is now one page. And that's going to make all of our lives trying to understand the budget so much simpler. Thank you.
Go ahead, Lisa.
I just want to say, as someone who went through a reduction in line items last year, this is amazing. So thank you very much. And with that, I would like to approve the request for the City Council of the City of Ocean Shores, Washington, approving the amended cost allocation plan.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Appreciate all the work you've done.
And our treasurer, Shantae Nations, has done a ton of work, and she is going to get to do even more when we start doing all of this. So I also want her to be called out because she's put a lot of effort into this as well.
Welcome to overtime. No, I'm just kidding.
All right, next we have a request of the City Council of the City of Ocean Shores, Washington, approving Phase 1 of the South End Fire Station capital improvements. And that's presented by our project manager, Becky Leach.
Normally I would say good evening, but right now I'm going to say good night. As everybody knows, the south end of Ocean Shores does not have a usable, viable fire station, which puts residents and visitors at a higher risk for both health and safety. The City Council approved the purchase of a modular building, which was purchased in June. The following are the requests for the move, repairs, and electrical work needed. There will be other bids coming in the near future for the sprinkler system, which had to go out to bid a second time because we only received one bid. There will be also a bid for the exhaust system that is going to be very similar to what we have in the current fire department that we installed in 2023. And we will also be doing roofing, gutters, and downspouts. Potentially roofing. We're waiting to see on that one, but gutters and downspouts for sure. The city did not receive any bids for the actual move of the modular. And based on RCW 35.23.352, we were able to reach out to a vendor and we found a very reasonable cost to actually move it. And the low bidder for the repairs was not a responsive bidder because they didn't have the required L&I training to do the work for a municipality. So the city is seeking approval for Westband Hauling to move the modular from Point Brown to Marine View Drive, Schumacher Electric to perform the necessary electrical work, and North Coast Construction to do the disassemble, reassemble, and repairs of the building. And the total cost for that is $147,513.60.
All right, do we have any public comment? Seeing none. Anybody online? Must be Dawn.
I'm pretty, I'm okay right now.
Yes, you're good. Go ahead.
Good. I'm really happy to see that this is moving ahead, and just as a general comment, I'm sure it's going to be a lot less costly to implement the South Fire Station under the current administration than it would have been under the previous. But that's another point. My question is really is what it says on page 141. I know the total cost of those three items adds up to the 147,000, but what is the statement about right above it? Says this is a total approval of 110,681.48 for this phase out of the Capital Facilities Fund. Where does that 110,000 come from? I don't see any combination of those items up there that come down to the 110,000, and we're really approving here 147,000. So why is that 110,681 even there? What's it all about? Thank you.
All right, council? Yeah, Richard.
I have exactly the same question. It's written down in my notes. I didn't understand. Help me.
I don't see it on mine.
It's on the, right below the North Coast contractors to complete repairs. It's right that next item down.
Mine's cut off.
I don't know if I would be correct, but I would assume that that's what we have in capital facilities for this project.
No, that's incorrect. We have $650,000 in the capital facilities.
The 110,000 should have been deleted. Yep, apologies. That's why it's not on mine, and it is a little bit cut off, but the total that we're asking council to approve for the Westpan hauling to move it, Schumacher Electric to do the electric, and then North Coast Construction to do disassemble, reassemble, and repairs is $147,513.60.
Yes, go ahead, Richard.
So I don't know how to frame this correctly, but is this a pretty solid bid, or is there a likelihood that this could have a significant overrun?
I think that it's a pretty solid bid, especially since we couldn't go with low bid and had to go with high bid. So I do feel more comfortable. I think this one's a blessing in disguise. Blessing in disguise that low bid was not a responsible bidder.
And the issue with the low bidder was you have to take training to do prevailing wage work, and they had not taken the training.
Okay. My other comment is that the city has been needing that South End fire station since long before I got here. And this is going to be a bargain if we, instead of having to build it from scratch or any other avenue we take. So first, I want to congratulate Mayor Elduin for finding in that triple wide and jumping through the hoops for the city to purchase it at a pretty reasonable price. And so yes, let's do this.
Any other comments? Yes, Allison?
Okay, so I would like to go ahead and make a motion to approve a request of the City Council of the City of Ocean Shores, Washington, approving Phase 1 of the South End Fire Station capital improvements.
Second.
All right, we got a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. All right, next we have a request to the City Council of the City of Ocean Shores, Washington, to award aquatic vegetation management work for the 2025 season by Aqua Tech Next Incorporated, presented by Project Manager Becky Leach.
So this year, the city received 2 proposals for the lake and canal weed management. The low bid was from Aquatechnics, and they have a very long history with the city of Ocean Shores. They wrote our invasive aquatic vegetation management plan, which we reference as the IAVMP. They work well with Herrera, who's our consultant in writing our master plan for the fresh waterways. And they're going to do, they'll come for meetings and do a town hall. They'll work with our Fresh Waterways Advisory Board. Aquatechnics is one of very few firms, and they I think are the only one in Washington that are licensed to use the treatment that can be used outside of the fish window, which will let us start work earlier next season and work longer into this season. And I know I put in here if that is needed, but I think we all know that it's going to be needed. And the administrative part of the project includes permitting, the necessary posting notices, the pre and post treatment surveys, and the year-end survey report, which they'll give to Ecology for us. And that administrative part is $10,225. And then the way these bids work is treatment by acre, and they won't know exactly how many acres they have to treat until they do their pre-treatment study. So the treatment cost per acre will be known after the pre-treatment survey is completed. Per acre prices are as follows. The Elodia, and I don't know if I'm saying these right, and submerged species are $375 per acre. Pennywort treatment is $17.50 per acre. And then the Pro Cellar Core, that's the one that they can use all year round. And it's a spot treatment, and it's $8,500 for all sites. So comparing those, the administration costs for Aquatechnics were less expensive than the other bidder. And then also the per acre prices were less expensive. So as an overall cost, it's going to be less expensive. What I'm asking the council to approve is $80,000 for this year's treatment. We did $79,000 last year for the chemical treatment that we did. So I think $80,000 is reasonable. If we need more and go above that, we'll come back to council and we'll have enough time to do that. And the other bidder that that was higher that we're not bringing to council, coincidentally, was also the bidder who did the treatment last year that I think we can all say we're not happy with.
I can say it probably didn't matter what his price was.
I know.
So he did a horrible job.
Yeah. Looking forward to working with Aquatechnics this year. They know a lot about our waters. They've been here for years.
All right, we got any public comment? Yes, go ahead.
I just wanted to ask, are there grants available to help pay for this? Or something from the state or anything, or is the city on the hook for all of it? That was it. Thank you.
Anybody else have a public comment? No, Dawn? Okay. Council? Any comments? Yes, Richard.
Just a comment. I think it's unfortunate that there's only two companies that could make this bid. My memory is that this company did less than a stellar job on the IAVMP, but they do have a history, and I hope that we get as good of weed control as we got over Doug Dorling when he did all of our weed control. So yeah, I'm in favor of this.
Yes, Lisa.
I just want to say the city is amazing at looking for grants. I trust that they have overturned every rock that there is. They always do. So I would like to go ahead and make a motion to approve the request for the City Council of the City of Ocean Shores to award the aquatic vegetation management work for the 2025 season to, I need to take my glasses. Aquatechnics. Sorry, I can't read with my glasses on. Inc.
Second.
All right, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. And last but not least, we have a request of the City Council of the City of Ocean Shores, Washington, to approve Rogland to install the headwork screen at the wastewater treatment plant and for the purchase of the screens from Ortec, presented by Becky.
So the headwork screen at the wastewater treatment plant is the screen that is after a part of the process, but before the waste goes into the big round vats. And what the head screen does is it catches all of the things that shouldn't go in there so that the wastewater treatment plant can continue to do what they need to do to the waste so that then they can dry it out and haul it away. Our screen is way beyond its useful life. It's over 20 years old. It's disgusting. And it doesn't filter out everything it should. As much time that has gone by since we put that screen in, the technology has gotten a lot better. So our current screen is 3/8 of an inch, and the new screen will be 2 millimeters. So it's going to screen out. I can't think of the right word. It's going to eliminate so much more. It's going to be about 90% more efficient, and it's going to help the whole process down the line for the wastewater treatment plant. We are purchasing the screen ourselves, so we don't have to pay vendor markup. The screen, including tax and shipping, is, there's a typo on here, it's $148,048.70. The Rogland's bid is $39,276. We did receive 3 bids, and they were low bidder. And the estimate was $65,000. And I am comfortable with Rogland's bid because they have done many projects at our wastewater treatment plant, and I think they were involved with building it. They definitely know our plant. So I am Oh, and it's going to be funded out of the Sewer Capital Improvement Fund that has $583,000 in it. So the ask is for the purchase of an Ortex screen and Rogland's installation for a total amount of $187,000, $187,324.70.
All right, thank you, Becky. Any public comment? All right, council? Yes, Richard.
So amazing that I still have something to say. One of the sessions that I attended in Kennewick last week talked about flushable wipes and how detrimental they are to the sewer system. And I looked at some pictures while I was looking at this ordinance, and they wad up. They don't dissolve. They never dissolve. They're plasticized, and they can completely choke up the sewer system. So I'm mentioning this because I hope that people who listen to this meeting recognize what a horrible thing flushable wipes are and how detrimental and costly they are to our sewer system.
Really, anything that's not toilet paper or our own recycling food and water, that is clogging up the screen. Like anything else should not be going. Gum. I learned from James at the wastewater treatment plant, if my dog has an accident in the house, do not put it in the toilet. I never knew that. So all those things can mess it up.
All right, anybody else? Yeah, Richard.
I would like to make a motion that the city council approve the Rogers Inc. to install the headwork screen and the wastewater treatment plant and for the purchase of the screen from Ortec.
Second.
All right, we got a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thanks.
Thank you, council.
Good job, Becky. We have no discussion. We have no executive session. Agenda review will be Thursday, July 10th at 9 a.m. It'll be on Zoom for council members Scott, Taylor, and Sires. So we move on to good of the order. Denise?
Well, I'm sure other people will be thanking so many who were involved in making the 4th of July a success, the surf riders, especially our fire department, our police department, and all the volunteers. So thank you. I'd also like to thank Sarah and Shantae and Tara for all of the work on the cost allocation and also on cleaning up the funds as the new person on finance. The cost allocation has been extremely difficult to understand, even though in my former life I did deal with cost allocation. So hooray for all of those changes. I also wanted to mention that the Friends of the Library book sale happened over the 4th of July, and they raised $1,200. And just a reminder that the Friends of the Library pay for all of the programs that happen at the library for children's, teens, and adult. That does not come out of city funds. So thank you to them for how they support our library.
All right, thanks. Lisa?
Well, Denise, you just said it all. So again, yeah, thank you to our amazing first responders, all of our staff for all of the hard work. And remember, don't swallow your gum, apparently.
All right, Allison.
Thanks for that tidbit there, Lisa. Yeah, thanks. The responders, the traffic control that was set up. I worked on the Chance-All-Amer approach with AVERT, and that made a huge difference. We were able to get first responders in and out a lot quicker than we ever have before. So, Chief Logan, thank you for setting up the traffic. Yeah. And thanks to all the volunteers. Sarah, you guys did a great job with the cost allocation. And I had a bunch of other things, but Sand and Sawdust was great. So sad I missed it. But everything else I'll hold till the next meeting that may not be 20 hours long.
All right, thank you. Richard?
Ditto, thanks.
All right. Rich?
Every day, I'm excited to hear all of the things the new finance department is finding and fixing, and reminds me of previous years where we couldn't get anything out of there very easily from the old department head, and that everything was perfect when we knew it wasn't. And so I'm so excited. So congratulations, Shantae and Sarah and crew. It's great to have a real finance department.
They're doing a great job. I'm very thankful to have them on staff. All right, somebody want to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
All right, we're adjourned.
This has been a live presentation of North Beach TV. We now return you to our regular programming. Already in progress.